All right, everybody, I'm Tarhaka, and we're going to be doing part two of the relationships between the brothers and the sisters. Uh, I wanna ask a question right at the start, right here. What is it that the Africans in part one, and who were the Africans trying to keep off of their land, and why? What this is amazing. You got 37 countries in Africa, and they are desperately passing laws and fighting, trying to keep something off of their land and some people off of their land. In the United States, talking about sanctions if you don't allow this in your country, and the violation of the rights of the people. Well, in my personal opinion, I don't see no reason in the world why Africa should let you do anything. They got their own land, their own people, their own government. However, we're going to take a look at this thing in part two, and I just want to, let's see, how we going to do this. Hold on a minute. Okay. Brothers and sisters going viral. And a judge, tell it like it is. Sisters say that the black woman is better than the black man. Let's deal with some of this stuff here. And loneliness, and of course we're going to bring in the heavyweights. But anyway, I just want to give you a brief introduction for part two. And let's go in. Let's see what it's all about. Tune in. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Do your likes or whatever. And don't be afraid to leave no comments. Okay? All right. Let's go.
Well, I guess around that time there was also the J. Edgar Hoover thing. And I remember J. Edgar Hoover publicly said there's no such thing as the Mafia.
Right.
Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, the reason for that is Hoover used to go into, well, one of the reasons, I won't say it's the definite reason, but he used to frequent some places in Manhattan that were mob controlled. One of them was the Stork Club. And I was told upon good information that he was there with his boyfriend at the time. And the Stork Club at the time was bugged and wired, because the owner of the Stork Club, a lot of celebrities would come in there. He would wire and bug these people and actually extort them or have information on them to either keep them coming to the club or whatever else he was doing. So he happened to catch Hoover and his boyfriend on tape in the bathroom doing some stuff that they shouldn't have. And they held it over Hoover's head. And that was one incident that caused Hoover to never admit that there was a mafia.
Right. I guess Hoover was also a cross-dresser.
Yeah.
And I heard there was photos and so
They
forth.
had photos and everything else. They knew for sure. He would never admit to the existence of the mob.
Because at that point, if you were exposed as a homosexual, it was the end of life as you know it.
Correct.
These days, it's a little bit different.
Correct.
The CEO of Apple is gay and out of the closet, and no one even bats an eye.
It was unacceptable back then. It's acceptable today.
Right. And he ended up, because of not prosecuting, not going after the Mafia, he ended up going after the Black Panthers as, public enemy number one.
Correct.
So it's kind of a weird, the effect was kind of messed up, I think.
And what happened was, could have been left at that and everything would have been great. But Bobby Kennedy, on the other hand, picked up the mantle and he started going after the mob.
Right.
And that wasn't supposed to happen.
Right, and JFK gets killed ultimately.
Right.
Your father was around during the whole Jimmy Hoffa time.
Yeah.
Did he ever deal with Jimmy Hoffa?
I don't know if he dealt personally with Jimmy Hoffa, no.
Okay. But I guess you had said in a previous interview that you have some idea where Jimmy Hoffa is buried, or where his body was dumped off.
Yes.
I guess in the ocean?
I can tell you that it's wet. That's for sure. Yeah, I have, look, I know where it came down from. I mean, look, The order came from New York, even though he had, he was hooked up, Hoffa was, with the Patriarcha family out of New England, but the order came down from New York. And upon good information again, I think I know who the real shooter was. Still alive in prison. Yeah. And I actually have some tapes with somebody that was with that person for quite a long time. And they reveal certain things on those tapes.
Okay, those tapes have never been released?
No.
Okay. So from everything you know, Jimmy Hoffa was killed by the Mafia?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
100%.
Because, that's what people assume, but it was never actually proven or disproven.
100%.
Okay. Because he had the mob ties when doing all the union activities.
He was supposed to come home and just, go off into the sunset, and he refused. He wanted the position back and couldn't have it.
He is Australia's most senior Catholic, and as head of the Catholic Church worldwide, finances the third highest ranking official at the Vatican. Now, after a year-long investigation, Cardinal Pell is also the most senior Catholic to stand accused of sexual abuse.
Cardinal Pell is facing multiple charges in respect to historic sexual offences, and there are multiple complainants relating to those charges.
The police have not yet made clear exactly what those charges are, nor when nor where the alleged crimes took place.
The accusations against Cardinal Pell emerged as an inquiry was underway in Australia between 2013 and 2016 into institutional responses to childhood sexual abuse. During that, more than 4,000 people said that as children they had been abused by people in the Catholic Church or its institutions.
The inquiry revealed that allegations had been made against 7% of all those who'd been Catholic priests between 1950 and 2010. As a boy, Damien DeMarco was one of those abused. In the decades since, he's worked to expose the failure of organisations to protect children.
I'm aware of quite a lot of kids who've died from suicide or drug overdose, and people who are still serious drug addicts on the street. It does a lot of damage.
During the inquiry, Cardinal Pell, who'd risen through the Australian Catholic Church's ranks to become Archbishop of Melbourne and then Sydney, was accused of covering up the abuse of others. He gave evidence from the Vatican via video link, saying he was too ill to travel to Australia to do so in person. It was as the inquiry was underway that men came forward to say Cardinal Pell himself had abused them as children. Police flew to the Vatican to interview him last October, and by charging him, it's clear they think the evidence is strong enough to be tested in court. Cardinal Pell at the Vatican said after 2 years of what he called relentless character assassination, he welcomed the chance to defend himself formally.
I'm looking forward finally to having my day in court. I'm innocent of these charges. They are false. The whole idea of sexual abuse is abhorrent to me.
Cardinal Pell is required to appear in court in Australia on the 18th of July. A spokesman for the Pope said he'd learned with regret of the charges and had granted Cardinal Pell a leave of absence to defend himself.
Before we dive into today's episode, it's worth reminding ourselves of the huge political and social advancements of the last century that allow us to look back and condemn the incredibly evil and inhumane atrocities of the past. Only by looking back can we see how far we've come towards building a world that is safe and accepting of everyone. Throughout history, there have always been people who belong to the LGBTQ community. In antiquity, same-sex relations were common, and it was acceptable for men to have both male and female lovers outside of marriage. Regarded as a way of controlling the population, Plato compared the acceptance of homosexuality to democracy and its repression to tyranny. Both the terms heterosexuality and homosexuality were not created until the 19th century, and there was no understanding of these terms in the Middle Ages. No one in medieval Europe would have referred to themselves or anyone else as gay, straight, lesbian, transgender, or bisexual. There was only normal and what they deemed abnormal sexual behaviour, and what was normal was decided by the Christian Church at that time. For the most part, there aren't many historical resources during the Middle Ages about same-sex relationships between women, although any sort of sex that did not result in conception was known as sodomy. In fact, the church was antagonistic to any form of sexual expression at all. Let's travel back in time and look into homosexuality during the Middle Ages. Welcome to Medieval Madness. Justinian. The Byzantine Emperor Justinian, who ruled during the 6th century, had an intense dislike for homosexuality and passed many laws as a consequence. He stated that, quote, certain men were seized by the most disgraceful lusts and acts contrary to nature. He blamed homosexuals for floods and earthquakes, not unlike the Christian right today, who claimed that natural disasters are the wrath of God because of lesbians and gay men. He also recommended cruel and violent punishments that were particularly directed at men and included mutilation of the genitals. The people of Constantinople suffered greatly during the 6th century. The bubonic plague wiped out 40% of its population, and it was also rocked by several earthquakes, causing even more fatalities. What Justinian needed to succeed in his military conquests were young, fit fighters for his army. This could only be achieved with a rapid growth of the population, and same-sex couples could not procreate. Sodomy. Church condemnation of homosexuality actually started to appear again in the 11th century after the Codex Justinianus. A collection of Emperor Justinian's legal theories re-emerged at the University of Bologna in Italy. This triggered a revival of his attitudes and punishments on homosexuality, which influenced European feelings and practices. It was then that the clergy itself became the focus of constant criticism. In the middle of the century, Peter Damian wrote the text of the Book of Gomorrah for Pope Leo IX. Damian was a cardinal and doctor of the church. He was also an important figure who helped to shape Gregorian reform, a movement led by Pope Gregory VII, which was concerned with the moral integrity and independence of the clergy. In the text, Damian listed 4 categories that qualified as sodomy: solitary masturbation, mutual masturbation, sex between the thighs of 2 partners of the same sex, and anal sex, which he maintained was the most abhorrent. Strangely, oral sex is not included in the list, but Damian considered sodomy even more evil than bestiality. Damian believed that the wicked behaviour of the clergy was beginning to incite violence from the lay people who were outraged. He said homosexuals should not be ordained, and those who already had should be dismissed regardless of their circumstances or age. Although Pope Leo supported celibacy for the clergy and agreed that all vice was to be condemned, he rejected the idea of excluding clerics unless they had repeatedly committed offences over a long period. In 1102, the Council of London was convened by Anselm of Canterbury. It started the Gregorian Reformation and banned all of those in holy orders from marriage, drunkenness, and fornication. The council also condemned sodomy, ruling that any cleric found guilty of the crime was to be degraded. It was probably this attempt to establish celibacy throughout the clerical world that helped to develop and nurture revulsion towards those committing homosexual acts. And consequently, the emotional conflicts caused by forced celibacy resulted in an illogical anger towards homosexuality among the people. Of course, money was always part of the equation. The church was becoming wealthier, and if a priest was married, his loyalty would be split between the church and his family. On his death, a cleric was more likely to leave any monies and property that he owned to his surviving wife and offspring, rather than bequeathing it to the church. Meanwhile, over in the Holy Land, the Council of Nablus, led by King Baldwin II and Warmond, the Patriarch of Jerusalem, established a canon law that created punishments for sodomy. They were the first to appear in medieval law. Canon 8 stated that adult sodomites, both active and passive parties, should be burnt at the stake. If the passive party was either elderly or a child, then Canon 9 states that only the active party should be burned and the passive party should repent. According to Canon 11, if a sodomite repents, he can avoid punishment, but if he is found to have committed sodomy a second time, he will be allowed to repent again, but he will then be exiled. The Christian mystic and polymath, Hildegard of Bingen, who was born 7 years after the death of St. Peter Damian, claimed to see visions and chronicled them in an illustrated work known as Scivias. In the second book, she described how God condemned same-sex intercourse between women, saying, quote, "A woman who takes up devilish ways and plays a male role in coupling with another woman is most vile in my sight, and so is she who subjects herself to such a one in this evil deed." Later in the 13th century, the Dominican friar and theologian Thomas Aquinas was a proponent of natural law, believing it is through the act of sex that new life is created, and this is impossible in a same-sex relationship. He considered homosexuality an unnatural vice and a sin, one second only to bestiality. And the teachings of Aquinas were extremely influential on the Catholic Church. For them, the main concern was risk of social deviance, which in this case was homosexuality, namely being men who had sex with other men, and so they were condemned as having depraved habits and became persecuted. Knights. The circumstances in which knights were trained would have encouraged an intimacy between the noble youths. They were taught to live together as a brotherhood and tutored by an older male. Every moment was spent in one another's company from the age of about 11. Sometimes the unit would stay together until the knights were into their 30s, longer still if suitable marriage partners could not be found. There were several orders of monastic knights, such as the Hospitallers or the Templars, who swore an oath of chastity. The Templars were powerful, extremely wealthy, and during the Crusades were known for being one of the most skilled fighting units who answered only to the Pope. But their downfall came at the hands of King Philip of France. In 1307, Pope Clement V asked the king for help with an investigation into the conduct of the Templars, as an allegation had been raised against the order from a former, ousted member. The king seized upon this accusation. He was deeply in debt from his war against England, having already stripped the Jews of all their wealth and banishing them from France. He now turned his attention to the Templars. On Friday, October the 13th, he ordered the arrest of the Templars, including their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, in Paris. Keen to turn the medieval people against them, the order was accused of what were thought at the time to be the most heinous of crimes, such as denying Christ, spitting on the cross, taking part in indecent kissing and homosexuality, as well as fraud, corruption, and the worship of false idols. And it seems that once again, as with the clergy, any group with all male affiliates was looked upon with some suspicion. It's not surprising that when the Templars were put on trial, it was those that were tortured, mostly in France and Italy, that confessed their guilt. In other European countries such as Ireland, England, and Cyprus, admissions were less forthcoming. And although the Templar accusations of uncontrolled homoeroticism in the 14th century were probably false, the connection between other bands of knights and homosexuality makes it conceivable that same-sex relationships were common and accepted among knights and the nobility in England and Europe during the early and high Middle Ages. Persecution. The Cathar religion came into prominence in the 11th century. By the 13th, it was the dominant faith in the Languedoc region of southern France. The Cathars were vegetarians, believed in gender equality, led austere lives, and had no problem with euthanasia, contraception, or homosexuality. Of course, these teachings were considered sacrilegious by the Catholic Church. This led their persecutors to accuse them of committing sodomy. In 1208, Pope Innocent III ordered a crusade against them. During decades of persecution, thousands of Cathars from all over Europe were massacred by either sword or mass burnings, regardless of either rank, age, or sex. In 1230, the French theologian and canon Jacques de Verty described the city of Paris as being filled with sodomites. He said that, quote, "Prostitutes dragged passing clerics to brothels by force through the streets. Any man who kept a concubine was held in high esteem." A homosexual scandal at the University of Paris in 1292 resulted in the expulsion of many tutors and students alike. Male prostitution, lesbianism, and trans people were seen in Venice and Rome, and in Parma, the friar and historian Salambian de Adamo said homosexuality was especially common amongst scholars, clerks, and nuns during the 13th century. In the 13th century, Alfonso X of Castile and Leon in Spain ordered the first ruling in Europe that called for castration and stoning as the punishment for any, quote, sins against nature, which included sodomy. It could be said that the brutality of these punishments for homosexuals was not out of proportion with those dealt out for what were seen as other offences before God at the time. It was common for limbs to be removed for transgressions such as adultery and blasphemy. France made sexual acts between people of the same sex a crime in 1206. Punishment was removal of the clitoris or testicles for a first offence, and amputation of the breasts or penis for a second transgression. A third warranted a burning at the stake. 10 years later, Louis IX made anal sex a capital crime, also punishable by burning. And in 1292, in what is now modern-day Belgium, the very first execution in Western Europe was carried out on 2 men for a same-sex act. and in 1432 Florence became the first European city to establish a special court to prosecute offences of sodomy. Over the next 70 years, the officers of the Knights charged more than 10,000 men and boys, convicting at least 2,000 who avoided additional punishments by paying a fine. We can only be thankful that today, huge political movements have reversed most of these oppressive laws around a lot of the world. But it's important to look back and study these evil doings of the time. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Medieval Madness. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos, as we release more every week, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, everybody. I am Tarhaka, and tonight we're dealing with part 2, the great relationship debate between men and women, or should I say Moors and Moorises. We're going to deal with the overall condition of the relationship and the difference between the brothers and sisters. Who and what are Africans trying to keep out or off of their land? What is it there? I mean, anytime you get a situation where you got over 37 countries fighting against something, what is it that they're trying to keep out? What is it? What are the outside contributing factors? What do the experts have to say about the situation when it comes to our relationship? What's the bottom line about the solution to the situation? Why does America not promote this type of relationship, the relationship between the brothers and sisters? Why is this not being promoted in mass? Why is it that we are looking at and just constantly being promoted as a brother with somebody else outside his race, or a sister with somebody else outside of her race? Why is this kind of thing going on in mass? Who has real hair and who doesn't? Now, you don't have to take my word for it. The brothers and the sisters have what's commonly referred to as hair, but you would discover scientifically outside of them, and I ain't calling no names, they have fur. Hair does not gather lice. Lice attracts itself to fur. I just want to put that little tidbit out there. And but before we get going on down in this broadcast, I'm going up here to the commercials because we have quite a few things that need to be examined. And then we'll be going in. So y'all hold on a minute. What is shocking to me among many people today is they are still trying to function in the public financially instead of moving into the private. It stands to reason if you can't pay a debt with a debt, the only thing left is discharge. Move into the private and learn how to function the right way. Stop losing money, time, and effort. I don't see rich people complaining about a debt problem. Go to TarhakaDebtElimination.org. Let me show you how to do it. Let me show you how to become a creditor. You don't have to keep going through the same thing over and over. I'm right here, TarhakaDebtElimination.org. Let's get out of the public and into the private. Let's become a secured party and a creditor. Okay? Peace. All right, now, I want to say some things here and I want to tell you about some situations that I ran into growing up, and I would really like you to give me your feedback on what you think about the situation. Okay, now, there was a woman, and her and I got together, and we were in love. I loved her, she loved me. All right. However, we were not compatibly connected. But nevertheless, she's working with me, and I got a job, and worked on the same job, all that good stuff. And she left the place she was staying. I said, well, look, let's get us an apartment together. And so we did. And then some kind of way we began to drift apart. We separated. But she was in love. I was still in love with her. But I went a whole different way to get out the situation, because it wasn't working. I tell her to do one thing, she do something different. I say, well, look, I can't keep doing this right here. I work 2 jobs. I told you to do this, that, and the third, but you do something totally different. And now, you don't put our lives in danger with what you're doing. So I tell you what, you go your way and I'm going to go a whole another way. But come to find out, and I didn't know, and she didn't tell me. They called me and told me that she was pregnant, and I need to get over there to the hospital. So I did. When I got out there, they said this girl having a nervous breakdown. I said, what? Yeah. I don't know what to do. But nevertheless, they said, well, she didn't have the baby. She lost the baby. Okay. And she ended up dating a friend of mine, what I thought was a friend of mine, way back in the day. And that was the end of that. I went a whole different way. But one day, I went into this grocery store, and I ain't going to tell you which grocery store. I walked in there. I said, well, I need some mouthwash. I need toothpaste. I need toothbrushes. And what else? A couple of other toiletries. And but I didn't have a basket to put it in. So I stuck the toothbrush in my back pocket, walked up to the counter, put everything else on the counter, reached in my back pocket and put the toothbrush on the counter too, so I could pay for it. All of a sudden, here comes this white man out the front office, and police, he's standing right there, and he tell the police, I need you to arrest him because he's trying to steal out the store. I said, what you talking about, man? I said, I don't steal from nobody. I said, I got enough money in my pocket right now to buy you. He really got me. I want you to. So the officer, he told me to take everything out of my pocket and put it on the counter. I reached out in my front right pocket and pull out a knot of money, number 20s, 50s, and 100s, and laid them on the counter. Take everything out your pocket. I reach in my left pocket and pull out another knot of money, put that on the table. Took my wallet out that was full of money. Took my other pocket out that had some other papers and stuff in it. I think I might have had $20, $30 in there. And the officer, he looked back at the white guy, and the white guy said, I don't care. He trying to, I'm looking at him on the camera. But let me tell you what happened. It took me a long time to figure it out. When I went to the store, it just so happened that the woman that I told you about, she was training to be assistant manager in the store. And the white boy that was training her, he done fell in love with her. And they got closed circuit TVs inside the store. And she spotted me coming in the store, walking down the aisle, shopping, and picking up stuff in the store. And when I turned around, she was standing right behind me. She said, "What you doing up here?" I said, "I'm up here to give me some stuff like the store." I said, "What you doing up here?" She said, "Well, I'm being trained as assistant manager." I said, "Okay, well, congratulations." I said, "I'm so glad to see you." She said, "Can you do something for me?" I said, "What's that?" She said, "I want you to put your arms around me and hold me for a minute." I said, "Okay." So I did that. And she said, "Okay." I said, you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. I just needed you to do that one more time." I said, "Okay." She said, "I'm going to go back because I got a lot of work to do." I said, "All right." I said, "I'm so glad to see you." And when I got up to the counter, that's when all hell broke loose. And it took me a long time to figure this out because what was happening, she back there with the white boy spotted me coming in the store and then bounced up with him and run back out in where I'm at. And the white boy, he's offended because he's trying to talk her into going to bed with him until she seen me. And got the brother, that's the popo, to got me out in front of everybody, taking everything out of the pocket, and everybody looking, and everybody's like, "We know he ain't trying to steal nothing. He can buy all of y'all based on what we looking at." Okay. So the brother tell me, the cop, he said, "Man, you got to leave. He wants you to leave." I said, "What time he get off?" He said, "Man, don't start that. Just get out the building." I said, "Okay." I said, "It ain't gonna never go away. It ain't gonna never go away. You understand? It ain't gonna never go away." So I walked out the building. I spent the rest of my day all around there. Never would come out the building. The brother out there, he walking up and down the sidewalk. He see me all the way across the parking lot. He already know the first time he come out there, I'm gonna blow his motherfucking brains out. Excuse me, y'all. But anyway, I couldn't figure out why every time I see her, no matter where I see her at, I ask her the same question. What store is he working at now? She never would tell me. Never. And I was like, "Oh, why? All you got to do is just tell me, wait, what store he working at, and just forget about it." She won't tell me. But then it dawned on me. Her mama and her sisters live around there with her mama. They right around the corner from my aunt's house. You done went around there and told my aunt what done happened. And my aunt done told you, whatever you do, don't ever tell him. I don't care what he do. I don't care what he offer you. Don't never, ever, ever tell him where that man at. Don't never do that. Don't never do it. So I finally gave up on it. It took me 15 years. I still don't know where he at. And she still won't tell me. But nevertheless, we're going on down into the broadcast. I'm going to deal with some stuff down here. I just want to, what I'm doing is I'm relating some real stories to you that actually happened in real life. Because today, what I'm witnessing is something, to me, it's a phenomenon. What I'm witnessing with men and women today that look like me, I feel like a dinosaur. I feel like I'm extinct. I'm just walking around, and what I'm witnessing, I don't even think it's real because I never experienced some stuff like this before. Now, where I came from, when we was in elementary school, junior high school, and high school, the brothers and sisters that I dealt with, and was raised up with, when it came to fighting or some real stuff, hands-on stuff, we went woman to woman or man to man. But now, what I'm witnessing is a phenomenon. This is phenomenal. I mean, I'm going to tell you something. One time I was locked up. They had me in a cage. And here come these police officers coming down the aisle. And they looked over there and said, man, you in here? I said, yeah, I'm in here. To my man, golly, man. You know, how your sister doing? I said, my sister's doing all right. So, man, your sister's a beautiful woman. I said, yeah, you know, that's my baby. So, man, I was in love with your sister. Me and my two brothers was in love with your sister. Well, I said, well, why didn't y'all come down the street? We were right down the street from each other within the same block. Why y'all? Well, our mom and daddy told us not to go down there because y'all were gangsters. I said, we weren't no gangsters, man. I was never no gangster. Never. But anyway, is she married? I said, yeah, she married. If she ever get unmarried, I marry her. I said, boy, you better go on and going on down there and deal with the rest of the prisoners up in here, man. Forget about that. She got a husband, she married. But we had brothers, anytime some real thunder lizard stuff break out, with a real men fight. When one man hit another man so hard, he goes straight through a wall, straight through the door, straight through a plate glass window. This kind of, real stuff, which is me, it was normal. I thought it was normal. I'd seen it so much. Men being picked up and slammed on the concrete until they peed in their clothes and stuff. That's normal to me. But anyway, one thing that I noticed, and I seen this with my own eyes, no matter what happened, there are certain men that struck out running home. They ain't even trying to stand out there to see the fight. They're running in the opposite direction. But then what I discovered is, I've seen these men. They on the police force. They got guns and badges, acting as if they have some type of authority. And then when they see me, yeah, I know you. I remember you. You break the law, I'm going to be the first one to arrest you. And I'm looking at this chunk. And I'm like, what is this? What in the heck is this? You had every opportunity to face the real thunder lizards face to face, man to man. You ran the opposite directions to somebody put a gun on your side and a badge on your chest, and all of a sudden, you coming at me? Talking about what you want to exercise some authority on me. Why didn't you exercise some authority back in the day? I was free. I was roaming the earth, passing up and down by you, around you, all this. You didn't say a word. In fact, you ran in the opposite direction. But anyway, let's get on down, and I'll see if we can get some solutions to some of these problems and situations that I'm trying to tell you about. Okay? All right. Let me get on down here and see where it's at. Y'all hold on a minute.
I don't think a woman should ever marry a man. Well, let me back up. and I'll say it this way. I don't think a woman should ever marry a man that does not have a mind to 100% provide for her. If you sit down and you have a conversation with a man as a woman and he's sitting there, he's bringing up 50-50, I want you to come up with 50, I'm going to come up with, he's not a masculine man in my opinion.
That makes so much sense.
Because a masculine man, though she made more money than me, I knew where I was going. All I needed from her was just give me some time and just walk with me for a minute. But as a masculine man, I knew where I was going. If I were a woman, I would dismiss any man that came up with a conversation about 50-50. Wow. Because he's lacking somewhere in terms of his masculinity. And so what the model looks like, sometimes that's going to be a professional woman that has vetted a man, that has been with a guy, and maybe he don't even have a job right now, but she believes in his dream. And everybody around her, that's why you can't have the voices outside.
Right.
Saying, he's a bum, he's a bum. And he may be the next Tyler Perry. You feel what I'm saying? So it looks different for everybody, but I think the 50-50 conversation boils down to energy, masculine energy versus feminine energy. Feminine energy has to be nurtured. It has to be protected. Masculine energy has to perform. Any man that's talking about 50-50 is falling back off of, that's just my opinion. And I know I'm old school, and I know a lot of folk don't agree with me, but that's all right.
No, that's fair, because we actually did an episode on that, and Brother Yada came up on here and expressed that in the strongest way. Pissed a lot of men off. Same message.
Perspective, yeah.
The essence was that it's our responsibility to provide. He added a little harsh language on it. I think pissed some of the men off. But I spoke to a really good friend of mine, and he expressed some concern about the message as well. And here's what he expressed specifically, because he is a brother that does want to have or see himself being the 100% provider.
Correct.
But right now, that's not where he's at.
Correct.
So what he asked was, how can we have a healthy masculine feminine dynamic in the home until you reach that point as a man? What do I need to do as a man to have a healthy household on the way to being that 100% whole provider of my home?
The Bible says where there's no vision, the people perish, right? So when you have that 100% heart as a man, you have to simply clearly communicate where you're going to your woman so that she understands every day in and out that this is not where we're parking at. We're not going to camp out here. We're moving. That's what I did with my wife. I kept the vision. I kept telling, this is where we're going. She kept watching it unfold. And so now what? The motivation is there. She feels good about her man. We're moving in the right direction. And then when we get there, now all the naysayers say, I knew he was going to do it. Yeah, you see? So there are a lot of young women today that are making a lot of money. I mean, there are some men that's going to marry women that you never make more money than that woman. Another beautiful thing this lady across the room did, this is an indication that a woman really loves you too. A woman will make these adjustments for you. She made certain that she kept our lifestyle at a place where I could afford to take care of it.
Wow. That's big. That's big.
So whatever she made, really, it could have been, we used it. We were young. We were just wasting money. We used it, but she kept our lifestyle. She's never put a financial burden on me. I've always given her more, much more than she's demanded. You know, so I'll say that relative to young men. You need a woman that sees where you are, understands the vision of where you're going, but loves you enough to make the adjustment to make certain that she lives within your means. Now, if you got a woman that's making $1 million a year, well, that's a whole different ball game. But, you know, that's a whole different rule book there. But generally, I'm speaking.
No, that's so she putting them Birkin bag pressure on you.
Well, that's
and she
great
know
counsel,
you a Applebee's waiter.
Correct.
That's a bad sign, player.
Correct.
No, that's great counsel, because you hear a lot of women say, you know, I'm not willing to make adjustments to my lifestyle for a man.
Well, and to be fair, now if a woman is there where she's making that $500,000, 7 figures a year, and she's living in a gated community,
right,
and maybe you're less than $100,000 a year, but she loves you and she respects you, now the onus is on you as a man to step up to the plate with the maturity and not feel as though your manhood is challenged by the amenities your woman provides. Now, if she's disrespecting you and handling you like you to help, you know, get your grip and get to moving. That ain't your woman.
Right.
But if she respects you and she wants to take all of her resources and her knowledge and put behind your vision, don't get upset because the woman got you punching the code to get into the gated community. Go and live, player. You feel what I'm saying?
I do.
Don't be up, you know, come on down to this apartment with me. No, man. Elevate. And grow into it. Sometimes God gives us women like that to pull us up to the next level. So that's why there's no particular rule book that can be applied to any particular relational dynamic. You got to figure it out for yourselves.
You know what that reminds me of, man?
What's that?
That makes so much. Let me tell you why that makes so much sense. Me and Ron, we first started a real estate company. The office place was my one bedroom apartment.
Wow.
Yep.
But see, we were already mature business people because we left a prior business that we ran, but this was going to be our first business that we actually owned ourselves. So we already knew we wanted to do it big. We wanted to have people coming in. We wanted to have employees. We wanted to put systems in place to grow it fast. So we actually had interviews in my one bedroom apartment.
Crazy.
And the office space for the interview, the private space, was a very small balcony of a one bedroom apartment on a picnic table. But see, we had a grand vision, and we knew who we were. Like, we knew what kind of businessmen we were. So we had absolute confidence. And we sat in that one bedroom apartment on a balcony, on that picnic table with absolute confidence, interviewing folks.
With a clipboard and a pool party going on.
Yeah, like some ratchetness going on the outside.
And we interviewing people.
And we having a whole professional interview, and we doing all the fundamental things you're saying. We're prophetically letting them know where we going as a company. Like where the vision is, where they going to be, where they going to end up. And as a matter of fact, the person that came on the team, not only did we communicate it then, every year we made sure, not only did we have weekly meetings to check his temperature, see how he was, and make sure we was on the same page, but we used to do this annual meeting where we will communicate next year's vision.
Wow.
Where we going, how we taking it to the next level. Even while we didn't have our money together, we were still broke that whole first year. Me and Ryan, he was getting his paycheck, but we was living off credit cards and about to go out of business in many ways. But we made sure we communicated that vision with absolute confidence.
Correct.
And he was excited as hell about where we was going, and we had no damn money. And we had to consistently communicate that over and over again until it finally came to be.
Yes, sir.
And that's really what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
So if somebody really believes enough in a vision, they can have nothing extrinsically there to see, touch, or feel, and still be motivated and excited on that side.
Absolutely. And the right woman, see, I'm listening to your language. You said communication, consistency. There's another C you used in there. Clarity is the word I heard. If a man is consistently communicating and he's consistently clear about where we're going, and the woman is seeing consistent growth, that's really the currency that a woman needs to stay motivated in a relationship with a man. You know, he may not have the cash right now, but if he's communicating that vision and he's waking up every day and he's doing that thing, and she's seeing the results, that's the currency a woman needs to buy in to a relationship with a man.
That's why I like the way you broke down 50-50, because it's not about the money.
It's not about the money.
It's not about the money.
It's mindset.
Yeah.
And when women have an issue with 50-50, what they're subconsciously, they may not even realize it. They are upset about the fact that this dude is not showing up as a whole man. You know, it's like when we had babies. Well, I changed a diaper or two. You know, I mean, I you know, but that wasn't my ministry. You know, I know we're in a day and time where we don't like to have specific role designations for the, you know, the male, the female, but yeah. I mean, let me back out of that. I'm getting in trouble with that.
Yeah, all right. We're going to take it easy on you.
All right, we back, everybody. I like that. I like the brothers and stuff and what they said. However, they're right. Me personally, the 50-50 thing, I never ran into that. I guess it's because of how I was training the men that train me and stuff. They always just told me, hey man, go get your own self. You know, get your own house, get your own car, get your own money, get your own business, get your own corporation, get your own everything, and then go and you can date. Go get everything that for yourself. Just do you. Concentrate on you. Do you. And then after you get everything set where you know within your mind and your heart and your soul that you got everything that you need, and then you can answer the question in your mind, do I have enough to take responsibility for a woman? Can I accommodate? What if she gets pregnant? What we got? Can we handle that as a singing unit? Or am I gonna run the risk of being in a position where something like that happens and then I got to go call somebody else to help me? I don't like that. I ain't having that, because I wasn't told to do nothing like that. I was told to just get me, do me, and then get in position to be able to take responsibility for myself and everything else. But I want to go to something else, okay? Because we're dealing with the great relationship debate, and we're going to get down into the heavyweights and what the real sister is supposed to look like that you want to invest in, and what the real this, that, and the other. We're gonna get down into all of that. Okay? But in the meantime, I'm gonna take a little quick break, and when we come back, we're going in. Y'all hold on a minute.
Take me in your arms, hold me for a little while. Hey, baby, I know you're leaving me behind. I'm seeing you, darling, for the very last time. Show a little tenderness before you go. Please let me feel your embrace once more. Take me in your arms, rock me a little while. Oh, darling, rock me a little while. We all must feel heartache sometime. Right now, I'm feeling mine. I'm trying my best to be strong.
All right, everybody, we're back. Now, what we're going to go down into now, because we are still building the foundation for what's going on in America, so we can get to the bottom of understanding the relationships between the sisters and brothers. A lot of this may seem abstract, but what we're going to do now is I want you to listen to a conversation between white man and an Asian at dinner. Over them sitting down at dinner, you're going to ask them certain questions and stuff. I want you to check it out. Okay?
But I want to know how it is you voted for Donald Trump when you're so into facts, because his entire campaign is not based in facts. It was all based in propaganda and emotion.
I voted for Donald Trump for one reason only. His policies, if implemented, would slow the dispossession of whites in the United States. If you were to deport all illegal immigrants, if you were to think very hard about letting in any Muslims, all of this would slow the rate at which whites are becoming a minority.
Why are you so worried about the white dispossession of America?
Because I want my people to survive. Is that so strange? We don't control China. We don't control any place where whites are not a majority. And if we become a minority, we will not control our own destiny anymore.
I grew up in this country as a minority, as the children of immigrants. I was their first child born in America. And while I didn't have much possession or didn't much control, I really enjoyed myself. And I think that if you ask a lot of Americans, they would say that I had a lot to offer this country. You know, according to you, I guess I would be perpetuating the dispossession of white America.
That is true. That is true.
Would you say that you wouldn't want me in this country?
At some point, when my ancestors built this nation, they did not build it with the intention of giving it away to Mexicans or Chinese or Haitians or to anyone else.
Do you consider, you keep saying your ancestors built this country, you consider that a fact?
Who else built it?
Black people, Native Americans, Chinese people who came and built the railroads.
Do you think none of that could have been
Italian
achieved?
people.
But they're Europeans, aren't they?
But I want to know how it is you voted for Donald Trump when you're so into facts.
Pay attention. He never answered whether or not he doesn't want him in this country. He's sitting there eating with him, and he's able to choke down his food. Look at him. And then he's like, we built this country. You were just something to be used. Your ancestors were just like a plow. They don't see you as human. Many of these people are very upset that you have been given, quote unquote, equal rights. Many of these people see you as an N-word. They saw Kamala Harris as, they saw her as an N-word. They think that you are inferior. In their ignorance, they think that they are superior, and they are trying to find some way with their confirmation bias. They're trying to find different ways that they can confirm the bias that they already have. They see you as subhuman, beneath human, and you know how angry they were to see Obama in the White House, a quote-unquote N-word in the White House. This is how Trump got elected. Don't you see that this is part of where it is that they want to go? And more than half of Americans are fine with allowing him to take it there. How much do you trust the people that you think you trust? If they had the chance for you to be their unpaid servant, do you think they would jump at that opportunity? What about your child? What about that? I just want you all to just pay attention. This is what it was all about all along. They try to pretend that it was about policy. He had concepts of a plan.
I have concepts of a plan.
Somebody wrote some stuff on his website, but the people who were in his prior administration penned Project 2025. Many of you were like, oh, that has, just because he said it had nothing to do with him, you believe him? The man is a damn liar. But he slips up and tells the truth. He told the truth that he believed that the jobs, that the low-paying jobs that the illegal immigrants had.
They're taking black jobs now.
He believed that those were black jobs. You were supposed to be out there on that farm picking those tomatoes. There are gins now to pick cotton, but tomatoes still have to be picked by hand. People still need servants. And pedos and perverts still need their supply. They still need their supply.
Many people look at the Middle Ages through romantic eyes. They think about armoured knights on lumbering steeds, beautiful damsels in pointy hats, dragons, chivalry and courtly love. Nothing could be further from the truth. For most people, the Middle Ages were dirty, difficult and really quite dangerous. Let's find out now why it was unlikely that you could stay alive and prosper, and why you were likely to die quite quickly during that time. Welcome to Medieval Madness. Communication, or the lack of it. Let's just suppose you suddenly arrived in medieval England, that there was some sort of time slip and now you were stranded in the middle of the 14th century. The first thing you would realize is that you wouldn't understand a damn thing anybody was saying. The ordinary people spoke Middle English, the posh people spoke French, and the clergy spoke Church Latin. Speaking only modern English, you might be able to understand the odd word, but an intelligible conversation with anybody is impossible at this point. A woman's worth. So now supposing you had picked up a little bit of the language, but you were unlucky enough to be a woman, then you would know all about hardship. Because of the importance placed on biblical texts, medieval women were usually regarded as morally weak, meaning they were oppressed and treated as subservient. In particular, the writings of St. Paul highlighted men's authority over women and their need to stay silent in church and under the control of their husbands. For the peasant woman, work was gendered and she was responsible for the household chores. Not only spinning, brewing, cooking, weaving and taking care of livestock and children, but also sharing the labour of the farm and fieldwork with the men. Women were expected to marry or become a nun. It is the first option that awaited the majority of women. Marriage meant pregnancy and that meant childbirth. There was no modern pain relief or sterile hospital setting. Complications that we now consider to be inconsequential could prove fatal for the medieval mother and child. Having money and status didn't guarantee a safe birth, and a caesarean section was only performed if the mother was dying or already dead. In 1420s Florence, for example, 1 in 5 women died during labour. Death during childbirth was so prevalent that women were urged to write out a last will and testament long before giving birth, which kind of takes the shine off what should have been a joyous event. Early life, early death. Today we consider the death of a child to be rare or unexpected, but if you were born in the Middle Ages you would be lucky to make it even past your 5th birthday, as the child mortality rate was so high, and 1/3 of children died before that age in medieval England. And the dangers would start whilst you were still in the womb. Unaware of the risks of alcohol-fetal syndrome, medieval women would have been blissfully knocking back huge quantities of ale or wine, or both throughout their pregnancies. And don't get me started on their nutrition. The death of a child is one of the most awful tragedies that anyone can imagine. In medieval Europe, the mortality rate was thought to lie somewhere between 20 to 30% dying under the age of 7, depending on the year. That's children dying from incidents during birth, accidents, or because of war or famine and disease. Deadly illnesses included whooping cough, measles, influenza, and stomach infections, sicknesses that can easily be treated today. And the grief was the same for parents living thousands of miles away. In medieval Japan, 48% of the population died as children. 48% is practically 1 in every 2 children dying. Who are you calling a peasant? The problem with living in the Middle Ages was that 85% of the population were serfs, so you would have been more likely to be part of that group than not. Tied to the lord and his land, not only would you have to grow food to sustain yourself and your family, but you would also have to make sure that there was enough to pay the lord his due too. You couldn't leave the land without your lord's permission or even get married. You may as well have been a slave. You would have been always reliant on the weather. Too much rain or not enough could be a catastrophe and cause the failure of crops, which led to malnutrition and, in the worst cases, starvation. Malnutrition meant a weakened immune system, and that led to an upturn in diseases like dysentery, typhus, and smallpox. Food, when it was available, consisted of coarse bread made with barley, oats, rye, or millet, and a thin stew known as pottage. Medieval Europe was teeming with wild game like rabbit, hare, deer, and boar, but these were for the nobility to hunt, not for the lower classes, and the penalty for poaching was usually pretty harsh. Clothing wasn't the comfiest, being made from itchy wool. Houses weren't exactly palatial either. Most had just one room or two rooms with no chimney and perhaps one or two small windows. They were dark, smoky, smelly, and unsanitary because they were often shared with animals, especially in the winter when conditions outdoors were harsh. With no central heating, lighting, or running water, is it any wonder that medieval lives were so short? The average life expectancy for most men in the 140 years between 1330 and 1479 was just 24 years. Women came out better with an average of 33 years, but still not great. The justice system. Medieval crime and their punishments were really different from today as well, because the church controlled just about every aspect of life, from what you wore to what you could eat and when. So no nipping out to McDonald's in your long pointy shoes on a Sunday morning for your McMuffin breakfast. If you were the victim of a crime, there were no police. You just had to scream loudly to raise a hue and a cry and hope for the best. For serious crimes, death was the punishment, and these didn't just include murder or treason. Forgery, arson, receiving stolen goods, robbery, and burglary were all punishable by hanging. In fact, stealing anything worth over 12 pence, the equivalent of about 3 weeks' wages, meant a trip to the gibbet. Early in the period, trial by ordeal was a thing. Here the guilt or innocence of the accused was determined by subjecting the suspect to a painful and often deadly experience, such as walking over red-hot coals, or plunging your hand into boiling water or oil. If you were innocent, God would perform a miracle and save you. Petty crimes like being in debt, gambling, playing football, or using abusive language in the street were also dealt with quite harshly, with punishments ranging from public humiliation in the stocks or pillory to branding or imprisonment. Many people died in prison because of the unsanitary conditions and lack of decent food. Most crime was linked to theft because of poverty, so there was a lot of it about. War, what it isn't good for. The list of wars throughout the world during the 1,000-year period of the Middle Ages is insane. In total, there were over 370 wars across many empires, with the last one, the Italian War, finishing in 1504. Many were fought to see which incompetent was going to sit on the throne next as king or queen, and others were contested for what were thought to be noble reasons, such as the Crusades. But then, as it is today, it was the common people who were left to pay the ultimate price. As a serf, and because of the European feudal system, if you lived in the kingdom of one of two rich people who wanted to have a go at each other, then you would be obligated to fight. Peasants had to supply military service to their liege lord on a regular basis. Men were only sent away for short periods of time, so if you were lucky enough not to die in the first 40 days, you could return home. This was because if everyone went off to war at the same time, then there would be no one to take care of the nobles. No labour meant no crops and no money for all the wealthy people to spend on silly wars. The result was a medieval military that was for the most part disorganized, resulting in a lot of dead people. And the noblemen didn't evade death either. Around 30% of them died in one skirmish or another. As for the commoners, no one really knows the victim numbers. They were thought to be so insignificant that nobody ever kept a tally. We can only estimate the casualties from medieval wars, both soldiers and the innocent bystanders caught up in the conflict. During the First Crusade at the Siege of Jerusalem, 90,000 people died. In all, during the Crusade years from 1095 until the end of the 13th century, there were between 1 to 3 million deaths. The 100 Years' War, fought between 1337 and 1453, produced between 2 and 3.5 million fatalities. And in Asia, the Mongol invasions and conquests that took place during the 13th and 14th centuries ended with the loss of between 30 and 40 million lives. It really wasn't a good time to be a soldier or a peasant. Poison. Let's suppose that you happen to be rich during the Middle Ages and able to afford the finer things in life. Would that have made your chances of survival better? You would definitely have eaten better than the peasants with their bread and pottage. For you, the table would be laden with meats such as veal, venison or peacock in rich cream sauces followed by sugar desserts and fine wine. You would eat your gourmet food from beautifully glazed plates and drink from delicately decorated cups. The problem was that the glazing was made from lead oxide. Yes, it looked lovely and it was practical for cleaning, making it very popular among those who were privileged enough to be able to afford it. But when salty or acidic food was served on glazed plates or kept in glazed pots, it caused the coating to dissolve and the lead was absorbed into the food. Lead is a poisonous heavy metal which collects in the human body over time. Acute poisoning can attack the nervous system and cause headaches, abdominal pain and infertility. Chronic poisoning may lead to seizures, coma and death. Because children are still growing, the effects on them can be devastating and affect their ability to learn. Medieval skeletons from cemeteries in more affluent urban areas of Germany and Denmark have shown that people had lead levels well above normal. Lead was also present in stained glass windows, coins and on roof tiles. Rainwater was often collected from roofs for drinking, and this could have been another source of the poisoning. Bread was the main food staple for the medievals. Often the rye used to make bread would become infected with a fungus called Claviceps purpurea. This caused an infection in humans which was called St. Anthony's fire. There were many outbreaks throughout the Middle Ages which caused tens of thousands of people to die and millions more to become sick. What we now know as ergot poisoning caused hallucinations, muscle cramps, nausea, insomnia and sores. In extreme cases, when left untreated, the blood flow to an infected person's hands and feet is restricted, causing burning pains. Gangrene can set in and fingers, toes, hands and feet can turn black and drop off. Some historians believe it is ergot poisoning that is responsible for some of the dancing epidemics that occurred between the 14th and 17th centuries. These epidemics involved groups of people, sometimes thousands at a time, dancing erratically in the streets until they collapsed from exhaustion and or injury. Thank you for watching this episode of Medieval Madness. Please subscribe if you enjoy these videos and I'll see you next week for another one. Have a great week.
All right, everybody, we're back. Before I go on and get up in here with the brothers and sisters that are dating and marrying outside of their race, I just want to give you a historical backdrop of where it came from that you're going to date or marry. I'm still not through. Okay? Hold on a minute.
A TikToker by the name of I Am 10 Toes spoke out about breaking generational racism among his folks. Check it out.
I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret about white people. Every single white person knows somebody who is racist. Racist towards black people, racist towards Spanish people. We all know somebody. It might be our family member, it might be a distant relative, it might be a coworker, it might be an old friend, but we all know somebody. Personally, I come from a whole family of racist people. Yeah, my entire family is Republican too, okay? My dad's parents are racist, and my mom's parents are racist, okay? So I'm literally going against everything by talking about this. I am putting my own life on the line by speaking about this, and that's what we all should be doing. See, we could have ended this a long time ago, but people like my mom listened to these racist comments that their parents were making, speak out against it. They kept their mouths shut, or they agreed with them silently, you know, but they didn't do anything about it. They continue to let this be passed on generation after generation. So my mom never told me or taught me any racist ideologies. She continued to let it happen because she didn't speak out against it when her parents were talking about it or my dad's parents were talking. So if you are against racism and you are against discrimination and you're a white person, you need to speak out about it. Otherwise, you are allowing this to continue generation after generation, and you are just as much a part of the problem as anybody else.
So yes, you heard him right. He said that white people
could have stopped racism a long time ago by speaking out against it. He brought up his mother as a perfect example. He said while she may not necessarily be racist, but she allowed racism to continue within, you know, her parent circle and her husband, which is his dad, I guess, by not speaking out against it. And he says if you're quiet about it as white people, you are pretty much condoning it as well. And so apparently he's going about breaking that and speaking out against it. And he is absolutely right. Racism could have ended a long time ago if white people would have stopped it, because oftentimes we in the black community get charged with stop racism. Oh, we have to do our part to stop racism. But we know we can't stop racism because we didn't start racism, and we know that black people have very little control of anything in this country, let alone stopping racism, right? So I agree with him 100%. It's going to take his folks to stop racism. But see, the problem is we know that they benefit greatly from racism. They always have, right? They've always benefited from racism, which is why they are where they are in society due to the racism that they created. Will white people ever speak out wholeheartedly as, you know, a majority against racism? Probably not. But in the meantime, we as black people can do our part, and that's not vote for racism. Because if y'all notice, he said most of his family are Republican, but it's not just the Republicans. It's the Democrats, too, that are very racist. So we can stop voting for racism, and we can stop spending with racism as much as we can, right? And start pouring into our black-owned businesses so that we can build something of our own. But again, I agree with him. It's on them to stop racism. Will they ever do that? Nah, probably not. But we should do all we can on our behalf to lessen the blow of racism. So anyway, y'all tell me what you think of this. And for more insightful commentary, please subscribe to this channel and my channel, The Demetria K Show, here on YouTube. Peace.
There is a white man on the internet that's making social media go crazy right now. And his name is Will Cameron. He is from Montreal, Canada. But let's kind of just worry about him for a little bit later. See, what's happening here, guys, is there is a section of women in the black community called divestors. Or we also have another phrase for them or term, which is swirlers. And they don't have to be interchangeable, but somehow they can also be related. And a lot of black women that are in these communities love white men, of course, and that's who they want to date. So whenever you see white men making a video about how much they love black women, that video will get a lot of views. Even if the white man is not even, you know, according to them, the best looking or the most educated or make the most money, that white man will get a lot of attention. Now, more on that. Let me kind of get back to the whole situation here with Mr. Will Cameron. He uploaded a video on TikTok that he then removed, and the name of the video was why he stopped, you know, dating black women, right? That has been removed, but unfortunately for him, we still have a copy of it, and we're going to talk about why Mr. Will Cameron no longer dates black women.
So the reason I hesitate or feel resistant toward dating black women is because I've been on dates with 3 different black women, and on literally every single date, I have had a black man, not every black man, but at least one black man, like, glare at us or be kind of aggressive toward us. And at first, with those first 2 dates, I was kind of like, am I looking for it? Am I being insecure? Like, is there something, you know, maybe kind of like some implicit racism or something in myself that I'm just like sensitive to that kind of thing, right? Or like creating it, you know what I mean? But on the 3rd date, we had an experience that kind of just solidified the fact that it was happening, where we were walking on the Montreal Canal, right, like middle of the day, and there was these 3 black men who were standing there. And as we were walking by, none of them were looking at me. And at this point, I was like, I fully admit that at this point, I was like kind of like looking for it. I was like waiting for it to happen because of these past 2 experiences. But none of them looked at me. But one of them actually like was mean mugging her and like stepped toward her to like kind of like have this like throwing an ugly face toward her or something, like a glare at her. And that experience just kind of confirmed the fact that it was happening on those other dates. And I just like looking at that, like, it just shocked me because I wasn't prepared for that at all. Like, I never thought like something like that would happen. And so I guess the point of this TikTok is just to ask, like, has this happened to anyone else? Like, is this something that's just like I've experienced, or is this like a very common thing? Because like it even was worse than that, where like at the end of that date, we were walking to the metro, and I haven't dated a black woman since because of this. But we ran into her hairdresser and her hairdresser's partner. They were both black, and they were talking, the hairdresser and this girl I was on a date with. And I tried talking to the guy, and he would just like give me one-word answers, right? And he wouldn't really like look at me as I was like trying to talk to him. And at some point, I just like stopped talking to him, stopped trying to have a conversation, because it was just like clear he didn't want to talk to me. And so like to have those like glaring experiences, and then like the throwing a glare at her, is like stepping forward in an aggressive way, and then to just be like completely ignored by this guy, I was just like really, again, just like shocked. I guess I'm just like confused by it, because I wasn't expecting like that much hostility for me being a white guy trying to date black women, right? And so I guess like, again, like, is this an experience that other people have had? I'm just curious.
So guys, you saw that, right? And it's very interesting. Of course, there was a lot of ladies mad, especially this particular by the name of Auntie Karen. And we're going to go ahead on and play the receipts that Auntie Karen found out about him.
Let's expose Will Cameron, since he decided to expose us to his racism. So for those of you who missed it, he decided to hop on Beyonce's internet and tell us why he doesn't like black women. Now, he claimed to say that it was because of the way that black men responded to him. Whatever. That's not what we're here for. This guy totes himself to be a masculinity coach. And, well, I decided to look into his services. Now, you go to his YouTube channel, he talks about corn addiction, he talks about being masculine and all that fun stuff. And he also claims that he has his psychology degree, which is interesting because I found this. My guy out here giving us his preferences, saying that he's a masculinity coach and he's, has his psychology degree. Meanwhile, he's still in school and he's looking for house sitting and plant sitting jobs in Quebec. Bro, be for real right now. Be for real right now. Bro, you're trying to house sit a plant. We don't need you. We are not looking your way.
So shout out to Aunt Karen Zero. Now, I want to just talk about this. And number one, he said he didn't date black women because he got these stares from black men. Which, in honesty, I believe that is true. Number one, I lived in Poland for a long time. I love Poland. And I am a pro-black, but, I can just even, remember seeing myself, let's say if you be out with some classmates from the medical school or whatever, and they're white, the way that white men would look at you, it was dirty, right? And the way that people looked at you in general, even if they were curious or wanting to know who you were, you just didn't like it, right?
Stop it. Get some help.
Which is why I never dated anybody from Poland. That was besides being a pro-black. But I just never did because of, you get tired of those sorts of stares, right? Stares. But people who date interracial are going to get those stares. Like, that's just what happens. Loving versus, Virginia, that was about a black woman and a white man getting married. You think that they didn't get stares? And people in interracial marriages, they know you're going to get stares. But you don't care if you feel that the partner is quality. So what he's saying is that I don't want to date sisters because despite the stares I got, I didn't feel like none of them were quality enough for me to continue despite the stares I was getting. Now, looking at what Aunt Karen Zero said about the guy, this is the guy who is absolutely broke, it seems. He's looking for house sitter and plant sitter job opportunities. So here's a guy that doesn't even really have anything to offer black women in the first place. Yet, if this guy would have made a video about how much he loves black women, you would have had so many sisters with, in my honest opinion, self-esteem that is low, running around trying to get with this guy who's saying, hey, I love black women, but now this dude is pretty much in the same fine net situation of the black man you're trying to get away from. He can't do anything for you. He doesn't have anything to offer you, or even offer the people in his own community. And the way that he's trying to play it off that he don't want to date black women anymore is because of black men. When in all actuality, you don't want to date black women anymore because you just don't want to date black women anymore. You know, people look at you crazy all the time. You know, in stores, or people cut you online. Does that mean that you don't want to go outside anymore? Just think about it. If you knew what somebody did outside in the store, what crimes they committed, or what they could have done, most of us would never come outside in general. Or what about going on the road as a driver? I mean, there are more car accidents than plane crashes. You wouldn't even go outside and get hit by a bus, right? Anybody can make up any excuse to say, I'm not attracted to black women or whoever kind of women because I don't want to deal with them. But what's happening is that they're getting outraged from a guy, in my opinion, that sisters shouldn't even be paying attention to in the first place. And this is the reason why I say, like, black people got to have a lot more self-love. Black men and black women. These people who are coming out here saying these things, trying to blame black men or black women for whatever else, we should have more pride in ourselves. We have plenty of people in our community. We got beautiful women. We got men who are smart, men who are doing whatever they can. And, like, we don't even really need to have the opinions of other groups when we can do a lot of this stuff ourselves. Stop the show. Check out the Pan-African Dating Show if you need your boy to hook you up. I mean, straight like that. That way, Will Cameron ain't got to be dissing on you and stuff like that. We got to stop letting these different people talk about, you know, offend people in the community when they don't even have a voice in their own community. Like, even white women wouldn't even want to talk to this guy in his own community. He doesn't have anything to offer anybody. So who cares? Outside of him being white, that's the only thing that matters. And we need to stop that. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell. I'm out.
All right, everybody, we're back. See, I got a caller with his hand raised at area code 404. I'm going to open up the line. Area code 404, tell me who you are, where you're calling from, and what's your question or comment. 404, you're on the air. Let me shut that down. All right, let's move right on. Now, what just happened with the guy when he's talking about it? What he said is pretty much foreign to me. I can't fathom why would you even get on the internet and say anything about you have a feeling about somebody staring at you or staring at the fact that you with a woman stuff. This is just outright foreign to me. I can't fathom anything like that. I don't know anything about that. To me, there's, I guess I have to attribute a lot of stuff that I'm seeing on the internet and on YouTube that is totally foreign to me. I guess it's because how I was raised, where I came from, what I had to deal with, that seems to be moving into the past of the ancient of days and moving toward extinction. That's the way I have to classify it. Because there was a time, and I never did do this, but there was a time that we had sisters that we know personally. And if one of us would have said anything about any woman from another race, even looked at and wanted us twice, the next day she would have been dead. I know that for a fact. And we never, ever, and we never even talked about it. We instinctively knew, whatever you do, don't tell Jessica and them. Don't tell them. Don't say that. Don't you tell them, because let me tell you something. And I want you to check this out for yourself. You always heard the saying that a leopard don't change its spots. But do you know that a leopard will sneak up on an animal and actually take his paw and wake that animal up and grab it by the throat and then kill it? Do you know that? Because we've been given a whole lot of information about this, that, and the third, but I'm telling you, do the research, examine them, watch them. A leopard will sneak up on an animal, a dog, or wherever he at. Take his paw and wake him up. When he wake him up, snatch him by the throat and carry him away. That's amazing. So I'm contrasting in my mind something that is foreign to what I knew a long time ago. Hold on a minute, we're coming back, and then we're going to go down into something else, because I got to continue this, because I'm trying to make a point that I want you to see. Hold on.
When they send you a letter demanding payment, don't toss it in the garbage. Have some fun. Sharpen your skills. Bring it all into question. When the tow company takes your car or truck away as the repo man, send them the right documents so you can see how fast they bring it back. To learn how to do it right, contact me at tarhaka.elimination.org. There are many, many remedies for problems you may face. You don't have to keep being a victim. There's something that you can do if you know how, and that's why I'm here. There are people that are losing sleep because they're getting stuff in the mail about their being evicted from their property when the property is paid for in the beginning. TarhakaDeadElimination.org, man. Holler at me. We would have stopped.
All right, and the second part of that question, do black women think that they're better than black men?
I'm going to say yeah.
A few days ago, Brother Omowale Africa shared a video that occurred on his YouTube platform on the live stream. And this evidence is shocking, where you have black women who felt like that other black women, not necessarily them, but that black women as a whole felt like they were better than black men. And because they felt like they're better than black men, they can never apologize to them because they feel like black men can't contribute. But we'll get to that in a second. As I was preparing for, the information for this video, I came across another video on TikTok, and it's called the Ekionet Skits, right? Check her out on TikTok. And this one was called Independent Modern Women Be Like. I want to play this particular clip, and then we'll come back.
There's nothing wrong with my attitude. The problem is with men. They can handle a strong woman like me. I'm a strong, empowered, and independent woman. I am sexually liberated. I don't need to submit to any man. I can't do without men. Okay, so you don't need a man. What do you need? Well, I need a man that will serve me. I just need someone that can help me out whenever I need help. Oh, I see.
A few moments later.
The problem is, I don't know why men are not asking me out. And the ones that ask me out dump me after we go on a date. They don't treat me like a lady. I'm in my 30s now and I need to get married. Why can't I find a good man? What is wrong with men? Why are they not approaching me? Where are the good men?
Really?
So why is this clip important? Number one, it's a very well thought out skit, right? Here we have a black woman who is successful, she's independent, and she's trying to get some counseling. She's talking about how she won't submit to a man, she doesn't need a man, but at the same time she's stuck in a dilemma because she wants to date. She keeps getting dumped, and men won't talk to her, men won't deal with her, and she wants a man to be subservient to her. And because of that, she can't find a good man, and she doesn't find any fault in herself. That's very interesting because that's going to lead up to the climax of today's video. But I also found another brother on TikTok as I was preparing for this, a guy by the name of Joshua Dillard, right? He's quite popular on social media, but I want to talk about this particular video in which he's saying that black women want to submit to black men but have a hard time doing so. We'll play that.
Look, check this out. Black women are tired. They're tired of being independent. They're tired of being looked at as the strongest. They're tired of having to take care of the kids by themselves. They're tired of bearing all the weight. Don't believe the hype that you see on all of these social media networks. Black women are tired, and the reason why I know this because I talk and have conversations with a lot of black women. But what a black woman really wants, she want to be able to go to the soccer games. She want to not have to be the sole leader and sole provider of her family. She want to support the man who God gave her to be with. She want to be a helpmeet. The thing is, she's been placed in this position where she's had to lead. She's had to step up to the plate and become something that she really didn't want to be in the first place. She want to support her man. She want to nurture her kids. She want to nurture her husband while pursuing things that she's passionate about. That's it. It's that simple. The thing is, she just can't find a suitable leader that she trusts to come in and relieve her of these responsibilities so that she can finally get some rest. Because that's what she wants. Rest.
So he makes some interesting points. But then again, it comes back to what's very similar in that skit that we saw. Here you have black women who are telling him, we're tired of being the leader, but we can't find anybody we can't find somebody that can lead us. Which is really an excuse because you don't know how to find a person that can lead you, or you don't know how to use your feminine energy to do it. That's what he's doing. He's trying to make an excuse for the fact that these women are not putting their best foot forward to get what they're looking for. All right? Now, I want to go ahead and deal with the clip at hand, which is Omawala Africa's video. Here you have a brother that is going to be saying some important things. We'll play that, and then we're going to play the entire clip that I have here, and then we're going to come back.
As far as apologizing, I feel like not being able to apologize is a major red flag because from my experience, when someone can't apologize to you, that means that they think they're better than you. And apologizing is a humbling experience. And who wants to be humbled by somebody that they think they're better than? This could be in a relationship, which I find to be true. Women, a lot of times, they get in a relationship and they say, I'm never going to apologize to the man because they've been trained to think they're always right and men are always wrong in relationships, so things should be catered to them. So when they do have to apologize, it eats at them. They don't want to do it because it's too humbling. And if they think they're better than the man, why would they apologize to him? And a lot of times, when a woman does have to apologize, it's coming with revenge. She's going to want to get it back. She wants to apologize, but you know what? She's going to bring up something. She's going to find something to her where you got to apologize 5 times harder. She's going to find something. I guarantee it. She comes.
You saying that she's going to evade accountability at all costs?
She gonna apologize. She may apologize if you just got her dead and ain't nothing she could do. She gonna apologize, but it's humbling and it hurt her. So you better believe she's coming for you. When she apologize, she gonna find something you did. It could be the most pettiest, stupidest stuff. You left your shirt on the ground, and I'm tired of cleaning up after you. And like, I just got home, and she gonna be on you about the dumbest stuff because she wanted back. She don't like being humbled by somebody that she thinks she's better than. And I think women need to maybe take that in consideration, why they're not apologizing, why they have a hard time apologizing. Is it because you think you're better than your man or you're better than your kids? I'll apologize to anybody. The woman I'm with now is the first woman I ever had that apologizes to me when she does something wrong. And when she does, it's confusing. So I'm like, what? Like, I just don't. You're sure?
All right, and the second part of that question, do black women think that they're better than black men?
I'm going to say yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah. I don't know. I think currently, like, a lot of black women are, like, focused on their careers and they're climbing, they're having financial upward mobility, and, the whole, like, being independent and I can do it myself thing, I think has inflated the ego, especially when you look at your counterparts and you're like, well, they're not doing it and they're not this and that. So I think if you just look at it as a whole, like, I think a lot of black women feel like we've climbed to a certain point and, like, we don't need them. And to me, that equates to being like, I'm better than you, or you don't offer anything.
Paris, you're shaking your head. What do you agree?
Yeah, I do think that that's the mentality across the board now, because when you're telling somebody you don't need them, you're essentially saying that they can't contribute anything to you, that they can't add to you. You've already fulfilled everything. And I also think that this mentality is kind of like going to be consistently embedded throughout the next couple generations, especially when you have a repeated cycle of women looking more so to the women's empowerment, and we're trying to propagate this idea that we're the only ones who feel each other. We're the only ones who have this certain type of oppression. We're the only ones who are safe with each other, which we know is not true. And then, too, you have a lot of black men who are now becoming more active fathers and up in those numbers, but their mentality is that of Simons, and all you're doing is actually like teaching your daughters to push away from the men.
I'm sorry, did you just mention my name?
Yes, you did. I'm going to get back to you, though. I'm going to swing it down on my eye. Go ahead and jump in.
So shout out to the brother who was talking for the first 2 minutes of the clip, right? He's bringing some very, very good information. That the first time he said he's been in a relationship with a woman that wanted to apologize was the woman he has now. And he's shocked. A lot of black men are shocked. Black women, for a lot of brothers, they don't want to apologize or take any ownership or accountability for things that they may have a mistake in the relationship. And you heard the two sisters at the end say that the reason why we are not trying to apologize because we feel like we're better than black men. We feel like we're doing better in the private sector. We feel like we're more educated, and at the end, we feel like black men can't contribute. So do you want to apologize to people who you feel can't add to your bottom line? Now, this is what I want to say. I talked about it in one of the videos that I did. Black men don't have ownership. Black women don't respect black men that don't have ownership. And if you don't believe me, I'm actually going to try to take a snippet of that video, a small snippet of it, and then I'll add it here. But you don't see that with some of the brothers. We don't even know how much money we have to retire. We don't even know where we want to own a house at. We don't even understand how to even get into the situations where we can network with other people, learn businesses, learn things that, and remember, community minded, right? As black Americans, we understand the problems that our community has. So we can attack it in ways that are financially lucrative. We don't take the opportunity to do that. So when you don't do that as men, you have no ownership of the community, which means you have no ability to hire or fire your people or have any financial power. Women typically don't have a respect for guys who don't have any ownership of their community. Now, I know what guys are going to say. Well, they're out there working for this person, or they're over there with these Pookies and Ray Rays. I get it. Those sort of women we don't even really want in the conversations right now. But let's talk about this, right? Because we're not going to deal with women who are dealing with Pookies and Ray Rays. That's not who we're dealing with. But let's look at people like Tyler Perry, who has ownership of his business. Let's talk about Robert Smith, right? These are people that we know that have ownership. There are many black men in Philadelphia, Baltimore. They own like 60 houses or 100 houses, or they own 3 or 4 houses. We're talking about brothers like P. Diddy, people with ownership in things. And I'm not saying that you have to be a ownership owner or you have to be a big-time business person, but you have ownership. And guess what? Women respect men who have the ability to lead, okay? It's just the reality. So they're just making the case that I made a while ago. Well, let me say this. Even if these women come across black men who have something to offer, they don't know how. Listen to what I'm saying. There are a particular group of sisters who don't know how to respect black men, no matter how manly the man is, no matter how successful, because sooner or later they're going to come across a guy that doesn't need him. Like, the young Miami P. Diddy situation. What are you going to do? A lot of black women are dealing with guys who are below their level, and many of them, I think, may do that on purpose, because when you step up to the plate to a guy who can provide, who can take care of you, now you have to put, your adult mindset together, and then you got to go out there and compete. Because if you feel like you're better than the man, and a lot of women do, but here's something else I want to add. You feel like you're better than the man, and really you're not. That's something I see. I've noticed something the last 10 years on social media. We have a lot of fake rich social media people. They think that they're really somebody that they're not, and they're really broke celebrities, but they go around acting like they're somebody tight, right? Like they're the truth. And that's what kind of happens too. While you do have black men who can contribute, you have black women who look down on black men, and they're not even on that same level. You have black women that you see on Kendra G. They are, some of them have multiple children by different guys. Some of them are, not doing that well, and they feel like they're better than the men that they're dealing with simply because they're black women and the guys are black men. And that's one of the reasons that a lot of black women suffer with dealing with black men, because they feel like they're ultimately better than the guys they're trying to deal with. And for many of them, you're in the same category or not the same category. And a lot of women feel that way for no reason. I can see if you're a woman that felt that way and you had some reason that you could back it up. But there are a lot of sisters out there that can't back up this claim. And for women out there who think they're better than black men, and you're not successful, you're not doing very well, and even if you are, it doesn't really matter, because you have to have those tangible assets that a man needs. Femininity, being able to work with a man, being able to, be a woman, be nurturing. If you don't have those things, it's not really going to matter. That's what a lot of guys are looking for. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again.
I found a woman I felt I truly loved. She was everything I'd ever been dreaming of. But she was bad, I didn't know it. Her pretty smile never did show it. All I knew is what I could see, and I knew I wanted her for me. I took her home to Mama. Mama wanted to see my future bride. Oh, she looked at us both, and then she called me to her side. She said, son, take time to know her. It's not an overnight thing. Take time to know her. Please don't rush into this thing. But I didn't listen to Mama. I went straight to the church. I just couldn't wait to have a little girl of mine. When I got off from work, preacher was there, so was my future bride. He looked at us both and then he called me to his side. He said, son, take time to know her. It's not an overnight thing. like everything was gonna turn out all right. And then I came home a little early one night, and there she was, kissing on another man. Now I know what Mama meant when she took me by the hand and said, son, take time to know you, girl. It's not an overnight thing. Take time to know you, girl. Please don't rush into this thing. Take time to know you, girl. It's not an overnight thing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and I think we've been doing this for a minute, but let's take a look at the flip side of the coin. Okay, let's take a look at this thing from a whole nother angle. All right, now we're gonna, before we get all the way down into what the good sisters are supposed to be looking at, because we got brothers out here, we got white folks out here, we got Italians out here, we got all of these different people out here trying to get at the sisters. Then we got all of these sisters from all over the world trying to get at the brothers. Now I'm trying to sort some of this stuff out, and so we can land safely with some kind of understanding. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and I'm going to take a look at this kind of thing.
Where does a man's true value come from?
It comes from his behavior and ability to love and forgive. Mostly us, because we have led you to, as I said, 75% of the men in America raised by a woman who is man and a man. So we put that in you. Some of y'all ain't never even been around your father, but you know you hate him. So your value comes from your behavior. It comes from you helping maybe your parents, being respectful to other elders, helping somebody if you can, trying to take charge of certain situations in your home. Don't let your baby's mother dress your little girl like a little whore. Don't let your baby mama put weaves in your daughter's hair, because that's teaching her that the only way she can be beautiful is if she buys some fake material and glue it on her head. They come from another race of people called Asian. So we don't need to teach that. We don't need to take our little girls and start putting them on makeup, letting them wear thongs, shorts, halter tops. You men know you don't like that. Every father don't really like that.
Not at all.
So we need men who will speak up about that. Like I say, we've tricked y'all on that, this is my baby stuff. And so if you're not in it, and I know it's hard to try to be with your child if the woman don't want you around. You got to go with mama and auntie, you know. And
Right.
You got to go through so many people and get accepted or approved of just to see your own child sometimes. And while we do need financial help to take care of our children, it should not be the only criteria that we use in allowing the father to be around the child. Now, I'm not talking about the crazy men out here or the crazy women. I don't mean people that's just out of their mind, a danger to society and themselves and you and everybody. I mean those who are trying to be normal, who are trying to be decent and clean and set a good example. We already know the children don't do what you tell them, they do what they see. So if we have a mother who is modeling fake hair down to her back, all the way down to her knees sometimes, if she is modeling fake eyelashes, if she is modeling fake dresses and BBLs, red lips, all of these things that we do in self-worship, long fingernails, long toenails, everything that we do in self-worship, trying to look like somebody else. are trying to improve on what is already perfect. We're the most beautiful women on the planet. And you are the most wonderful, the maker, the owner, cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. That's how you like God. God made you in his image and he made you first. He didn't make everybody else and then make you. You're the best. That's not to make you have a bravado or over thinking or ego tripping or something. It's just because you don't know to try your best or that you have a choice to be your best. So you don't put limits on yourself because everybody around you hates you. Your mom hates you. Your sister hates you. The neighbor hates you. The school hates you. You look at hard life, and we don't think about that. You have a hard time. And who can you turn to about it? Not anybody you feel like you can trust. The trust has been broken. But it's your decision. The brain ain't telling you what to do. You telling the brain what to do. You're the God. It's your universe. And you can reparent yourself into that idea. We reparent ourselves in everything else. That's what black people wear, knockoff and fake clothes, designer outfits. You know, the Chanels, the Laurents, whatever, the Yves Saint Laurent. We'll buy it and wear it even if we know it's fake. Because we don't have no identity, so we want to be there. We can be anybody. These people hate us. They're using their money to take care of their family, buy their yacht and everything. But we'll buy that just to try to be somebody when you already somebody. You just tap somebody of the whole universe. That's the secret. That's what's been kept from you. People might think I'm just tripping like that. I don't know why I'm crazy. No. Giving you the truth about some things that you need to start considering when you're making decisions in your life. You don't have to start out thinking that you on the bottom. I was around a sister one time, and she was telling me about this brother. She said, he thinks he all that. Yeah, he thinks that. And so I said, well, what did he think he's that? I said, he can't think he's all that. If we tell you that, you can do anything. If we agree and tell you, you know, as a conversation that you had mentioned earlier that we really do need to have with each other when we're trying to get together and mate. Because we don't know anything about mating. We don't know anything about genetics. We don't know any of that. And we don't have the proper information to study because we, even as black people, don't agree on this.
It's so powerful. It's very strange to me because you're dropping these affirmations and I feel myself getting excited
and empowered,
right, and emotional. And I'm thinking in my mind, you know what? I need this sister like with me. Like she need to be right here with me. And I think a lot of women are confused because the value they are working sacrificially for these corporations. And they are presenting it like, hey, this is how I get my power. This is what makes me powerful. Yeah. So let me ask you, what is a woman's true power? Like, what makes a woman powerful? What should she be working to hone and embrace so she can feel just as successful and confident that she feels when she gets that promotion or that bigger check at her job?
Heaven. We are in charge of heaven for the black man. And we can make heaven or we can make hell. If we make heaven, we'll have a better outcome. The only way we're going to have a better people is we as black women birth them out of our womb. Everybody got to come out of here. And we have power even there because we decide who's going to come out and who we're going to cut off and kill. So we have a great deal of power. But I always say we're just using the power in the wrong direction. We're using it to destroy ourselves. Our birth rates are down. So it ain't just the white man who got a lower birth rate. Ours are because of abortion and birth control, homosexuality, and sickness. So, you know, we decide how long, this other power we have, we decide how long you gonna live by what we feed you. Food is what sustains life. And how much stress we put on you. See, we put a lot of extra stress on our man. You already got stress up under the enemy. So it make it really hard for you to heal from anything because we turn on you so fast at the first disappointment.
Yeah.
So we have got to continue to try to provide heaven. See, we do obey you, and I talk about submission. I introduce that in society.
Right.
And you know the issues that has brought up.
Both submission and cooperation, big issue.
And it's the same thing. We do have one time when we do agree with you, we follow instructions, we obey, and we submit. And that's indeed. It ain't nothing you can tell us to do that y'all tell us to do. We won't try to do it and do it worse. That's what we follow, everything you tell us, and ain't nothing you can tell us that we say, no, I ain't doing that. We do that. But once we all stand out and get out to bed, oh, hell, it all comes back. It all comes back to you and tell me what to do. Why don't you step up like a man? How do our girls know what it's like to step up? How do a woman know what it's like to step up like a man? Now, many of us have had good fathers, and so we saw different things that they did. But a father's place in the home is not just to provide financial support. And many of our women think that it is because we want so many material things that we don't make anyway. We ain't going to make no money off of it. But we want so many material things. We have been trying to live under the clock that white people have set. They decided what's popular, what's designer, what we should do, where we should go. They've made those decisions. There's nothing keeping us from making decisions about what we're going to do. The churches have failed us. And I'm not a Christian, but I do know that back in the day, they used to have cooking classes. You could go there and learn how to sew. They had, the BYPU, Baptist Young People's Union. And you could go in there and the men would learn different things about weapons, about how to dress, how to walk. Now they call it that swank and all of that because it's been exaggerated stuff.
Right.
But there's just so many things that are not being taught. And people like me, as I said, we're aging out. So the purpose of education is to civilize the people. And if there is no education, any teaching is an education. If there's no education, then we don't completely go back savage like now.
That's the church of my dreams.
One of the greatest threats to black women is loneliness.
Yeah.
Right? Can you elaborate on that more?
Well, once again, you're paraphrasing me, but yes.
Paraphrasing.
Because, I tell you, I have to say that.
Paraphrasing.
Because people go around saying I said all kind of things. And I didn't say that, but it was something similar to that, okay? Well, because we can survive without a man. We do. All the time, all over the country, for years. We can survive without sexual intimacy. We can survive. We can make it, all right? But we're not satisfied, okay? I'm not going to say happy because the word happy is not in the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran, so it can't be that important. They've made it important to us because we spend money for happiness, all right? And we think it's everybody pick out what they want to have happiness, all right? But as I said, peace is the number one thing that creates happiness and allows all of the other things to grow and happen. But we're very lonely because of our men being so discouraged right now, okay? Some of our best brothers are in prison, okay? They get a different education there, and we are struggling, of course, with the mental health issues that has been forced on you by living in a hostile environment your entire life, okay? Personal rejection is very, very, that's hard to handle over the years, Many of you have been rejected by your father. Some of you have been rejected even by your mother and the entire society. That's very hard, and we don't consider that. Now, I know right now it looks like we're having a harder time, but we ain't never had as hard a time as you because the enemy has always tried to take your place and make you look inadequate by giving us everything we need for us and our children to survive. So I looked at the television the other night, and that new guy at Swarmaharmy, whatever his name is, that's running in the election, a Republican, he said that many of our women keep the man out of the home so that we can get certain benefits. I'm paraphrasing him, but that's what he said. And that is such a great lie. It was the white man's idea to put y'all out of the house. It wasn't our idea. We tried to keep you in there. We would hide you under the bed, in the closet, anywhere. We weren't trying to separate from you. Plus, if you got a whole project area with a lot of women and children, where do they think them children came from? Okay, there's some men in and out there some kind of way. So, you know, this is a lie that they're perpetrating. Now they're going to turn it back on us. This is how it's done. All right? The entire objective is to keep you and me apart. Whatever the risk is, whatever the cost is, they would rather deal with that than allow us to get together. You know, when I was young, they used to say that Mafia stood for Mothers and Fathers in Association. I don't know if that's true, but it makes sense, all right? Because you can always do better with a helpmate. You can do better with peace, all right? That's the greatest inspiration. All right? I know how it affects myself. As I've written books over the years, I couldn't do them if anything else was going on. If I was waiting to pay my taxes, or if I had to go to a doctor appointment or something at the school, I could not do anything until completely everything was out of my head, everything calmed down where I was at peace, and then the ideas could come in. And creativity is like that. As I said, I know that it's like that because it just come into you, and then you have to get it out of you, no matter what it is. You know, we are creative like that. We are just, as an example, the white art museums. There's nothing but nonsense in there. We know it's just pure silliness. That art they talk about as art makes no sense. Their paintings are all, it'll be maybe exactly like something. Now, they like that realism because then they don't have to create nothing. Just paint the apple, and there it is, and it's already an apple there, you know. But it comes up out of you. You don't have to have that kind of inspiration. If you can get cooled out, it bothers you so long until you have to get it out. This is what creativity, this is how greatness works for us. And so many of us are so talented, so great, so wonderful. And, you know, we're different. We really are. Because you can see the way many of us wear our hair, the way many of us have a certain kind of nose, the way many of us wear certain jewelry. That's all different tribes. We wasn't one tribe that came to America. And so we have those things still in us. And we try to express them, even with the long hair. And I know that's, you know, that's not the best thing we need to do is to put all that different fake stuff in our hair. But who has been the model of beauty for the black woman in America? Who has been the model for hair for the black woman in America? The white woman. So we want our hair like hers. We want to mimic that. That was our model. And we don't, we want to make it black colored hair. But then too, you know, we got slews of black women who have blonde hair, who are getting skin lightness. The self-hate we have been taught, you almost can't, how you quantify that? Okay, and the more false stuff we have on, the more we hate ourselves. That's what that shows. You even got the brothers now getting weaves and getting braids and everything. We are not making the kind of progress we think we are.
What do you say to people who always say we are making progress? People would love to say that. We're making progress. Race is no longer an issue. People are doing great.
What is no longer an issue?
People say race is no longer an issue.
Oh, that's crazy. That's ridiculous.
I know
race
you,
is
I know
no
you
longer
heard that
an
one.
issue. Race is the only issue, and everything else just was lined up after that. But I have talked with people who have a similar idea that things are so much better now. Well, it depends on what kind of equation you're setting up. If you're saying that they're not coming to our door at night pulling us out, lynching us, they don't do that as much. They still do it. They just call it the police and that it's legal. These things are still happening. As I say, we're living in a hostile environment, and a friend of mine once told me, we're trying to normalize our captivity. We're trying to act like it's okay, I'm all right, everything's fine, I got a job, I got an apartment, I got a car, you know, I'm going on vacation, we having a family reunion, What, to celebrate your slave master's name? We can't say that a name is not important. If it hadn't been important, they wouldn't have took it from us. Everything was geared to control us and turn us into a slave for them.
When did you change your name, and how liberating was it?
My first husband, Brother Solomon, named me, and that was in 1967. He said, Sherazade, and I turned around. Okay? He said, that's you. And as the history turned out, as we studied it, Sherazade really means tranquility. Now, I know y'all don't think I'm tranquil, but I am. I really am. And she was the one that wrote the stories. Okay? And at that time, at first I was trying to be a poet, incidentally. Okay? Because it's a good way to express you. I advise anybody that wants to do something, write the poetry. But don't try to make everybody else enjoy it. You just write it for yourself. It's the way to purge. And I sent my poetry to the messenger, to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was responsible for my career, me writing all my books and everything. I sent it to him. I was so proud. I sent him about 2 poems. He sent me, at that time, you could write to the messenger. He would answer your questions and send you a letter back.
How did that make you feel when you responded?
Oh, it was just wonderful. Oh, I was just trembling. Of course, I can't find the letter. I was showing it to somebody about 20 years ago, and it disappeared. But at any rate, he wrote me back one line in the letter. He said, Dear Sister Sherazade, I am not concerned with poetry. That was the last poem I wrote. That was the end of that. Oh, I was so embarrassed to myself. You know, and that's in one of our prayers. And that should be in some of all of our people's prayers. We have one line in there that says, I have been greatly unjust to myself. So when we're doing evil, when we're doing something bad, or it may look like physically that we're doing it to that person or some other organization, but you're really doing that to yourself. You don't have to believe in God, because God believes in you. Okay? And we practice certain kinds of evil in private and in public, and we make excuses for doing it, and we're just being greatly unjust to ourselves. Yeah. But back to the poetry. So I didn't write another poem, and then over the years I decided to do other writing, and that's how I started writing books. Well, we have been taught that. It's like people that don't have shoes. They'll say, I don't like shoes. You know, they don't have no shoes. Ooh, I don't like jewelry, because they don't have any jewelry. So all of that, I don't need no man, I don't want no man, is because we don't have no man, okay? And it's hard for us not to have a man, because we try everything that we can think of. We wear anything that we can think of. We'll do anything that we can think of to get a man. So those of us who don't have a man, we just have either exhausted all of our ideas, or we have just decided, I'm not doing that just to get no man, or whatever, okay? But we all want a man. We all want a man, and most of us all want at least one baby. Those are things that we do want. And we still are laboring under the misinformation that if we can get a man to get us pregnant, that we'll have some kind of hold on him to control him. And that idea has never worked, but we still keep trying it.
That's what I don't understand. Like, people have observed what goes on in our culture, right? But a lot of women still have this idea like they're going to trap a man with a kid.
Yeah, we do. And it's really, as I said, that's one of the reasons men have to be taught fatherhood too. Because the system that we have practiced in this country is that when you quit the woman, you quit the children too. Okay? And because the rules of child support, are so damaging to our men. If, as an example, if a man is making $2,000 a month take-home pay, that's realistic, right here today, okay? And if his child support, if he got 2 or 3 children, or 2, 1, whatever, his child support is $500 or $600 a month, and his rent is $1,000 a month. See? So it's a non-sustainable system if we want our men to be involved in their children's lives, because our men use a lot of excuses not to pay, even a little bit. Some of our men buy clothes and stuff, and they think that's child support. Some of our men just completely disappear. Some of them won't work at all because they know if they work, they're going to have to pay that money for child support. So that is one of the ways that we kind of get you back, because there are other ways to do that that would keep you out of the system, and you all would be able to co-parent. However, we need teachings on how to co-parent.
I was going to ask you that.
We don't know how to do that. We don't know how to cohabit with each other. Okay? So we don't know how to co-parent. Anything that's co means unity. We don't know how to practice none of that. Okay? So we need to have teachers or somebody that come up with some kind of program or brochure or something about how to co-parent without the enemy in the middle of it.
Would you be able to provide any advice to anyone in regards to co-parenting? Because people seem to just that anger they have for the other person blinds them in regards to what's important for the child.
Yeah, we'll punish you with the baby. And as I said, you know, I've said this years ago, and it created a new dialogue about it, that if we mad with you, we won't even let you see the baby. If you don't give us money, we won't even let you see your own child. That's not punishing you because you going on about your business. It's punishing that child. That's who's being robbed in the situation. And as an example, I've noticed a trend that when you hear the white women getting pregnant on television and so forth, they'll say, "We're pregnant." I've even heard their men say, "We're pregnant," okay? We say, "Where's my son? Where's my daughter?" Okay? And I know we real tough, but we can't have no baby by ourselves. They're just not going to. It has never flown in that way. So I think that that's something that we could sit down and just talk about. I know we're mad, but we got to do this different or write it to the person. And we especially get angry if you get with another woman, because we'll say, "I don't want my child around your other woman." Well, you are more capable to protect the child than we are. You could protect your child better from a woman than we can protect ours from a man. You know, and you have to look out for the daughters and the sons now. It's not just just the little girls anymore, because the situation has gotten just so perverted out here. And our men also don't have the discipline to not be dealing with young girls, okay? But how many behinds can you look at and that turn you on? And so what happens is that our men sometimes, I know I'm talking a lot of different things, but this is important too. A lot of our men are going after the younger girls because she stimulates them more than another sister with her butt out. It's just enough. And every market can get saturated. Okay? The crack market, and what that did to our people, and even now in our schools, we are dealing with the children, great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren of the crackheads of the 80s and 70s. Okay? And our children, maybe who we have tried to raise up in a more normal environment, are out here trying to mate with these people that's crazy, emotionally blown, a lot of things. And so that's a problem we're dealing with too that we're not addressing. We're acting like that this just, we didn't study that because they didn't care about us enough to study that. If it had been their children, they'd have studied that. What is the connection 40 years later to what happened there? These are the people that don't want us to deal with our history. But all they talk about is remember the Alamo, remember Pearl Harbor, remember 9/11. I mean, they want to remember everything. They have a history, and they teach it to their children, and unfortunately, they teach it to ours.
Okay, we're back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a little quick break, and when we come back, because I have some things to tell you before we get into the real meat and potatoes about our sister that you really need to remember and never, ever forget it. Y'all hold on a minute. We'll be right back. Okay, everybody, we're back. Now, it's something that I want to tell you that I experienced and found out a long time ago. Do you remember the rock and roll group called the Beatles? Do you remember the Beatles? Okay, they came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, they exploded on the scene. All radio, newscasters, magazines, everything. The Beatles this, the Beatles that. And I saw them. I said, I'm trying to figure this out. And I couldn't find out. They was rocking and rolling. But that still did not answer the question in my mind of where they came from. What is this? And for years and years and years, I could not figure this thing out. Come to find out, what they did was got these boys from London, England, that was failing. I mean, if you would have went over there in London, England, and oh man, we from America, y'all got the Beatles over here, and the people over there were looking at you like you crazy. They can't. They ain't nothing. They're not nothing. They ain't nothing. They ain't nothing. But what happened was the United States, the ones over here with the system and the bank and all that right there, not that they had no damn money. So that they had none of that since 1933. However, they paid women to gather at the airport and create a spectacle about the Beatles coming to America and run around, and it caught on like wildfire. Wildfire. It's just like if you go in a movie theater, all you got to do is one person jump up and start hollering, "There's a fire! Fire! Fire!" and start running. Everybody else jump up and start running with him. But there's no fire. That's how they were created. They do the same thing over and over and over. And I asked my brother 3 weeks ago, we were riding out here to my mom's house to do some real work. Do a garden, pull up some trees and stuff, some real man stuff. And I asked him, I said, well, what is this thing that I'm looking at lately? Who is Taylor Swift? Because I looked at her videos, I listened to her music, and I can't see nothing, absolutely nothing, that can match Diana Ross in the Springs, Ann Nesbitt, the Four Tops, the Temptations, Frankie Beverly and Love Maze. I don't see no real nothing. He told me, he said, well, you know, men like smaller women. I said, hey, man, I ain't trying to hear none of that. I ain't talking about that. I'm asking you, what is this thing and where did it come from? Now I'm going back over here to area code 404. Open up the line, find out what's going on. Area code 404, you're on the line.
Yes. You got me?
Yeah, I got you, man. Come on in. Let me have it, Stanley.
Yeah. Master Musa. Master Musa. That's my
Master
my
Musa.
name.
Master
Yes,
Musa.
sir.
I'm sorry, brother.
Master
You
Musa.
have it, man.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Yes, I've been listening. I've been listening the whole time here, man. It's a mess, man. It's a mess.
Oh, of course
It's
it
a
is.
mess. It's a mess, man. And it requires leadership. I've been dealing with this for years, long before it became popular. This miseducation that's taking place in the African American community. I can't speak about no other nationality. I'm only concerned about the African American community. And this has been going on since the miseducation of the Negro going back to 1992.
Well, let me ask you something. Can you give me a description of the good black woman? And the reason why I'm asking you this, I'm gonna tell you something now, Stanley. I had one that lived down the street from me. This woman, she had 4 children. She had a husband. Their yard and house and surroundings was immaculate. And she had her own truck. She every once in a while she come out, she go to the store, but I never heard her. I never heard her voice. I don't even know what it sounded like. I never seen no debate. She was just quiet. Can you give us a description of the good black woman?
Well, that's kind of rare today, but that would be a nurturer or a half-mate. It's just that simple.
Okay, well, describe it for me.
The nurturer.
What does she do?
What she do is she really managed the house. Let me put it simple as that. She managed the house. She managed the family on the inside. On the outside is the man's responsibility. But when it comes to the woman, she's a nurturer. Her job is to help her husband and also empower the kids, or to help empower the kids. But her primary job is giving birth and nurturing the children. That's her primary job. Yes. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a big problem today, since 1980 up to the present.
All right. Well, what do you think that we're supposed to be doing as a nation of people right now that we can do not only in a county or city level, but on a national level? What do you think we need to do?
Well, first of all, we have to deal with denial, because most of my people, or African people, assume that it's somebody else's fault. Number 2 will be leadership. We don't have any leadership. Now, there's 2 types of leaders. There's what you call the in-house leadership, what you have in the home. We all leaders when it comes to that, when it comes to our home. Now, then there's collective leadership. Most of the time, that's less than 1% of the people. And we don't have any leadership in the African American community, not since post-civil rights. Not since post-civil rights.
Okay, are you married?
Physically, I'm not married, but I'm married to the community. I can say that part. Yes. But I raised my son by myself from a baby. Let me put that out there too.
All right. Well, what I need you to do, just hold on a minute. I'm gonna run something by you, and I need you to give me your personal opinion of what you think about this. I'm gonna mute your mic, and when I come back, I'm gonna open it back up. Don't go nowhere, and you let me know what you think. Okay?
Okay.
All right. I'm going to mute your mic and run this here piece. And me and Stanley, we're gonna deal with this.
As I said, this book demonstrates that we are not as different as we like to think that we are. So what I'm going to go over real brief right now is what the attributes are of the good black woman. Since she's not on television, we may not recognize her. Okay. Now, the good black woman has 7 attributes, and then I'm going to explain to you how to utilize those in your day-to-day life. The good black woman has self-discipline, courteousness, cheerfulness, self-respect, intelligence, cleanliness, and love. Now, we've heard that terminology. You know, it's like one of those where they tell you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. What do that mean? You know, how can I make that functional in my day-to-day life to benefit me as a practice? It sounds like all theory. Where's the practice? What do I do? The good black woman has self-discipline. That's self-control. Let me make that real for you, sisters. We can start with our mouth. The good black woman can control her mouth. She don't have to say everything that comes up. It's okay if he get the last word sometime. You know, she don't cuss in public. And she works on not cussing in private. She don't tear a man down with her mouth because they can't out-argue her. Can't nobody out-argue her. I have charged that we nag our men too much. We keep our men's head tied up so much with our petty grievances about our personal relationship that he don't have time to think and plan for our future. Because he got to deal with what's going to happen with us every day. You know, it's real odd. When the black man come home, he almost has to do a wind test or stick his toe in the door. He don't know what's waiting. He don't know who in there today. He knows it's a possibility that there's some kind of new monster that he didn't even know about yesterday. So, you know, we need to not make it like that. We need to not be so vicious with our mouth. You know, men are not petty like that. They're not going to out-argue us. And it has been proven that verbal abuse is just as harmful as physical abuse. So let's not use our mouth to do that to him. The good black woman is courteous. She says, thank you, baby. I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate every effort you make. Try harder. I'm going to work with you. Thank you. I know you did your best. Now that's a whole new language. But just to say that during the course of the day, every day, with the man that you're trying to be with or want to be with, will make our life easier. We can't get it if we don't give it. We keep wanting them to give us and do something for us that we refuse to do and give to them. It don't work like that. The good black woman has self-respect. She don't have to go out naked just to get the attention of a man. I have sisters all over the country, and they come up to me after the lectures, and they'll be talking to me, and they'll say, well, you know, all he think about is sex. All he think about is my body. I say, why don't you show him something else? And then here's the really good one. They'll come up and they'll have on a weave. They have on false eyelashes, another whole face, false fingernails, and all of that. And then they'll say, but I'm looking for a real man. It's real deep. I say, why? What do you want a real man for? The good black woman can pull her dress down without thinking that it devalues her. She doesn't have to use her body because she has so many other good attributes about herself to get the attention of a man. We can take the sisters in a position to take all of the charge and sexual energy out of the black community by just dressing differently. We have the power and control over that. That don't stop you from being beautiful. You know, that don't stop you from getting a man. And it certainly puts things on the right perspective so some other judgments can be made other than physical. It don't take no knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to have a sexual reaction. That's the most base. We spend less time doing that than anything else we do. So, you know, that doesn't always have to be the forefront issue. We know we are capable of that. The good black woman has intelligence, meaning that she knows how to behave properly in the streets. She's not in the wrong place. Some of our women don't know what else to do other than go to the bar. They need some activities. Some of our women thinking that staying home on the weekend is some kind of sin. Some of our women think that if they don't have a new outfit to wear every day, that they're going to self-destruct. You know, we have a lot of that kind of nonsense going. Every time we buy new outfits and clothes or whatever, all we're doing is sending money out of our community. We don't own no clothing store. If the white man closed the shoe factory, we'd all be here barefooted tonight. We don't own no shoe factory. You know, very base things that we don't own, that we put our money into and demand we have to have them. A lot of times our men look at us and know that he ain't never going to be able to make enough money to give us all of the things we say we want. And don't no man want to be with no woman who he constantly got to deny her the things that she says she wants. That represents failure to him, to have to always, you know, not be able to provide us with what we ask for. One of the ways we can do that is to start being satisfied with less. You know, the good black woman is clean. Now that's a hard one. The good black woman try to keep the house clean. Good black woman is clean by her own body. You know, a lot of those things we kind of take for granted, but all of our people don't know about that. There are people who are angry with me because I even describe the fact that some of us as sisters don't have the proper personal hygiene as if that don't exist. We have too much falsehood and pretense going about our condition. Everybody that's dressed up ain't clean. You know, that's just the truth. We have to look at our condition in the light of truth. Stop reacting emotionally and pretending that just because we don't want to deal. One of the most difficult things that I deal with out here is trying to teach our people the difference between an actual fact and an opinion. Our people think that they can accept or reject truth based on how they feel about it. Your feelings don't change the truth. The truth is just going to be there. You can feel any kind of way you want to feel about it. Those kind of emotions have kept us from growing. Because anything we don't like, we just reject that and say, well, I don't believe that. That don't mean that it's not the truth. It just makes you a disbeliever. The good black woman practices non-possessive loving. Now, y'all know that's a hard one. Now, envy is wanting what someone else has. And jealousy, of course, is just selfishness. Non-possessive loving is not an easy one for us to practice. And, of course, I have a lot of sisters and some brothers who are in disagreement with me saying that. But the actual fact is that our men are outnumbered about 5 to 1. And nature is going to require that the men take responsibility for more than one woman and her children. Most of our men have children by more than one woman anyway. So I don't know why that was such a surprise, allegedly, when I said that. The black man has not been waiting on me to tell him he could have more than one woman. You know, I'm in agreement with the rest of y'all. I don't think he should do that, but I feel like you did. There are some things perhaps about the nature of our man that we have been given some definitions about that are not true. There are some things he can do that we call him a dog. We do not have the same capabilities as a man. I am not talking about fornication and adultery. That's something else. I'm talking about actual responsibility of fatherhood and husbandhood of another family. That's quite different from fornication and adultery. We don't have the same capabilities of them. That's right. A man can have 2 homes, 2 sets of in-laws. He can eat dinner at 2 houses, 2 sets of children, 2 garages, 2 separate sets of friends attached to that woman. He can have all of that. We can't do that. We can't cook dinner at 2 houses. We can't sleep with one man 4 nights a week and another one 3. Ain't no man gonna agree with that. We can't have 1 set of children we leave in one place and go and stay in another place and take care of another set. It doesn't work for us. Now that does not mean that we can't have sex with more than 1 man. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just taking responsibility for your children. Now certainly every man can't take financial responsibility for all of his children. He can do something. But a man who is spending time with a child is going to do something for it. Because then they'll find out what we have since we've been taking care of them by ourselves. You don't like to always say, no, I can't do it. No, I ain't got it. So the children will make you get it up. You spend some time with it. You know, that's an important thing. The effectiveness of the principles that I just described, their usefulness has not diminished just because modern opinion has changed about them. There is not a black man in this room who does not still enjoy it if his woman bake him a cake. While our young daughters are being raised and taught that that's old style and that's out of fashion. We are not making those rules. Somebody else is, and they're imposing them on us and making us think that we have to qualify under them. I tell the brothers, just like I tell the sisters, if you have a woman that you've been working with for months or years, and you can't get that woman to get in agreement with your program, then get rid of her and get another one. And I tell the sisters the same thing. If you're with a man you can't agree with, don't make his life miserable. Get with a man you can agree with. But we spend too much time living in hell with each other. We spend too much time tearing each other down, trying to make the other person do different or function different. If you want somebody to change, first change yourself. We set the example. We are the teacher. We are the mother. We set the example.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to one more situation, and this is a judge. We'll bring him in, and I'm gonna bring in my brother, and we're gonna discuss this stuff, and we'll be moving on down to the close of the podcast. But anyway, let me go down here and get this in, and then I will bring in the judge, and then I'll bring in my brother. Y'all hold on a minute.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your girl, Dia Direct, right here on Girlfriend FM, and we are talking with the no-nonsense judge herself. That's right, Judge Toller from Divorce Court is now Skyping for the first time with me, and welcome to Girlfriend FM, Judge Toller.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Dia.
So you know we go in girlfriend style, and you deal with one of the topics that is just, you know, key for everybody. Everybody talks about relationships. There are ups and downs of them, and unfortunately, there is divorce. And then for some people, it's like a happy occasion. So before we get into, you know it is now.
Absolutely.
So let's just talk to you for a second, girlfriend to girlfriend. What is your relationship status?
My relationship status is this Friday, I will be having my 23rd wedding anniversary.
Aww.
I've known him for 25 years, a full quarter of a century, and we'll be married 23 years, 6 sons.
Wow.
Right.
6
yeah,
sons.
that's a lot of boys, isn't it?
Wow. So no wonder you're so no nonsense. You've had to be with 6 boys.
Oh, you cannot play.
Mm-mm.
Not with those people.
Mm-mm. Okay, so with that in mind, what has kept you out of divorce court?
I think a couple of things. We went into marriage counseling before we got married, and we weren't afraid to go back while we were married, and I didn't expect to be happy all the time, and we were committed to the proposition. So even when it was ugly, and it did get ugly, we stuck through it. And I think, I think it's not a fairy tale, but it's a good thing.
Now, so for all those, because I know you have some ideas about, if a marriage can be saved, and then before the vows, that I want to talk about in terms of what you guys are doing with divorce court. So let's talk a little bit about before the vows in the context of when you got married, and then I want to know what's happening with the show. Did you have warning signs or concerns before you got married that you ignored, or did the good outweigh the bad in every area, and you thought there was just nothing wrong, and you thought the marriage would be perfect?
There were warning signs before that we paid attention to. There were warning signs before that we ignored, but we never really thought everything was perfect. I think because we were older. He was 36. He had 4 sons already. I was 29. We weren't babies.
Right.
So we went in and talked about the issues we understood we were going to have. We missed a couple of huge ones popped up in the first couple of years, but we worked those out later on. But I think one of the reasons why we lasted so long is we never pretended it was going to be wonderful.
Right. But the love was there, and that's what matters.
The love was there. He was a steady guy. He got me. He knew what was wrong with me, and okay with it, and that's huge.
Yeah. So what are you seeing in your divorce court, and what do you wish you could say to people before the vows?
What I say about divorce court is I got tired of it. It's such a negative thing. Not a negative thing, but I would get there, everybody's fussing and hollering and carrying on, and I'd like to save things. So we were doing sessions called Before Your Vows to help people who were looking to get married to do what they need to do before they marry successfully, to help them marry successfully. And so that's what I was going to do, and a lot of it is being prepared and facing all those problems that everybody pretends aren't there. Because, when you in love, all of that pretty stuff is shiny right in front of you. Yeah, he doesn't talk to his mother. Yeah, he has a whole lot of stuff but can't pay his rent. It's okay because I love him. But you have to address all of those things and make them do that. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means that person is just as human as you are, and hence imperfect. And if you're not willing to live with the imperfections, all the wonderful in the world ain't going to save you.
Okay, so you said you were going to do that, or is it something that you are doing?
I am doing. Okay. I do that now as a regular segment a few times a month. I will have a Before Your Vows session.
Good. So who are your candidates? Are these people who are just going together? Are they
These are people who are engaged.
Okay.
And they have issues that they want to resolve, and they come before me. I love him, but I love her, but, and I try to deal with the but.
Okay, and so do you feel like you've been able to resolve some things? Have you advised some people, I don't advise you to get married based upon my experience and knowledge?
I told a couple people to run screaming because it just was all wrong on so many different levels. Yes, he did shove me that one time. Yes, he is angry with his mother. Yes, he has punched holes in the wall. But I think if I can just, and I'm like, you can't just. You know, in 23 and he was 35 and I was, you know,
Right.
run.
Okay, so to women specifically, you see a lot in relationships. You counsel a lot of people. You've lived your own life. What are some key things that you wish all women would get that you really just want to emphasize?
I think the key things that all women should get is no matter how involved you get with someone else, you never forget the importance of feeling good as an individual and to keep progressing as an individual person. Because not only will that allow, I mean, the negative part is it'll allow you to keep going if that relationship doesn't end, but it will also allow you to remain that exciting, interesting thing that he continues to pursue. And so it helps you on both ends, and it helps you more confident even when the relationship isn't going well, and you don't start feeling, oh, he doesn't love me, this defines who I am. If you keep redefining who you are, you feel better about the whole thing.
You know why that's so on point, too? I remember, I am divorced, but I remember when I got married fresh out of college, which I had no business doing in the first place, and really, wrong on so many levels. So, but I was trying to be the, good Christian girl. I wanted to get married, and really, I wanted to have sex. Okay, let's just keep it.
Okay, I got that. Put it out there.
Yes, that's what that was. So, now, another reason not to get married. Okay. So I really put everything into trying to be a good wife and what I thought that was, because we have all these ideals as to what that looks like. And before marriage, I had just won Miss Black USA. I had just graduated from Howard University. I had a promising career in front of me, and that kind of stopped when I got married because I was giving him so much energy. And one of the things he said to me was, basically stop focusing on me so much. It's like, you're boring now. Like, I was excited about who you were, and it was like I was losing myself in the relationship based upon what I thought marriage was supposed to be. But really, regardless of all the mess that he did that you can never justify, he did teach me a lesson, okay, right? Regardless of how clingy I was being. He did teach me a lesson, which is don't lose yourself, because that is the person that he fell in love with.
Yeah, if he wanted just June Cleaver or somebody, he would have gotten someone who wasn't in college, who wasn't Miss Black America, who wasn't all of those things. He wanted you. And now he wants you to do a little bit of that June Cleaver. Don't let them fool you, because they're looking for that a little bit. But you cannot lose yourself in thinking that is who you are now.
Now, and then also, there are so many people who have ideals, again, about what marriage is. But then, I know you guys do something about can marriage be saved on divorce court, and I want you to talk to me about that, and then I have a question.
See, I started doing that because I would get people in a divorce court, they're separated, they want a divorce, and I would say, listen, if you fix A, B, and C, you can make this sucker work. And so I started to invite people who are near the end, not already filed or not already separated, to say, hey, if you can get redirected in the right directions and figure out what the problem is, you need to save it. Because I hate all of this, we can't make it, we can't make it, we can't make it. It's not always easy, but sometimes you can make it. Sometimes you need to go, but sometimes you can. And that was my idea of saying, hey, and also a lot of people would write in and say, I think I want to get divorced, but can you fix him? So I would come on, I said, well, maybe it isn't him, maybe it's both of you, or the other way around. So it was just a response to demand, and also a response to what I want, which is everybody to do the best they can in that state of being.
Do you find, though, that people in relationships are more focused on their mate being fixed more than really looking inwardly and saying, what's wrong with me, especially women, because, we're good for trying to be somebody's mama or trying to tell him what he needs to do better, and a lot of times we're trying to have them fix the things that might actually be wrong with us, but we don't realize it.
Right. I think a lot of times women tend to believe that they're wrong a lot, and he's not happy, so I'm not doing it right, and they try to fix themselves, and well, if I'm just a little better. He got mad about the ketchup. Just if I make sure he's got all the right condiments, he won't get angry. Then he gets angry about something else and says, it's your fault. Well, if I can just fix that, I'll do better. So a lot of times women absorb all of the negativity that's sent in their direction. And then sometimes, so it tends to be more us that take the blame for what we do, and men tend to look to us for, I'm unhappy, you're the chick nearest, it must be you. But both sides do come to say, fix the other side, because they don't see, not necessarily their blame, but their responsibility. It's not right or wrong, it's approach.
You use the word anger a lot. That must be something you see often.
I see a lot of anger.
Is it hurt or is it anger? Or hurt turned into anger?
Insecurity and fear turns into anger. I mean, that's what spawns it. That's what happens. I mean, you can get anger in relationships. It's almost always insecurity, hurt, or fear that turns into anger. And sometimes it is repetitive emotional beatings that turns into anger. Like I've been beat. And now I'm just through, and I'm angry. But my thing is, once you're angry, you lose, because you lose the capacity to think, you lose the capacity to respond in a manner that allows you to improve the situation. You lose the capacity to see what you could do, not saying that you're wrong, but what you can do to fix the situation, because you can't convince anybody that they're wrong. It's just, they're not going to listen. They're not paying attention. They don't want to hear that from you. But if you change your response to whatever wrong that they're doing, then that gives you more control over the situation. Doesn't mean you can fix it, but it gives you more control.
Now, when we come back with Judge Tobler, the last thing I want to talk to her about is conflict resolution. It's not something that we know a lot about, but it is key in relationships. Learning how to resolve conflict. I'm your girl, Dia Direct, and we'll be right back.
All right, everybody, we're back. I'm going to open up the line for my listener's brother, Masamusa, and get his opinion on it. He's at area code 404. I'm going to open up the line. 404.
Yes.
Oh, Masa?
Yes.
Give me your opinion, man.
Well, first, I'll say, when it comes to Ali, I would say she's 90% right. Ali is 90% right.
Okay.
And once upon a time, we had principles. Like I said, since 1980, we lost those principles, and we went wild. And I'm not just saying the men or the women. We both are responsible. That's one of the first things we need to do, to stop blaming each other and must learn how to work together as a collective body. Now, the rest of the folks were just giving their opinion. But like I say, Ali had a mapped out roadmap for women as far as the value system. And like I say, I agree with her. But with them other folks, they had a little discombobulated, and they were just giving their opinion.
Okay. All right. Now, what would you say that will be the solution, in your opinion? And I know you can't get it all out there. What would you think would be some good point that you could give single people that's looking for a mate? What would you give us as some stronger points?
Well, first thing I would say, you need to know yourself. Know what your needs are, your wants are. And if you can't get it from yourself, don't try to get it from someone else. That would be my main message to anybody. Get to know thyself.
All
A
right.
lot of people out here,
Could you break that down for us? Break it down.
where you have to know your principles. What is your value system? How you feel about yourself? Your self-esteem. Yes. Do you need some help in that area? Because a lot of people are living, like I say, in a life of denial. And they never been around people where I would say I can say that because I come up in a generation where most people were married. Almost 90% of them was married. But today here, it's a mess, man, as I said before. So my best advice is you need to talk to someone that's been, if you think about getting married, to talk to someone that's been married more than 10 years, a couple, about them and watch what they are doing, because they, as someone said earlier, there is going to be good days and there are going to be bad days, and you're going to be working toward the good days. Yes, but you have to make sure that before you talk to anyone else or get involved with anyone, you must know yourself. And a lot of people fail to do that. And you have to be honest about yourself.
Well, I have to I have to agree with you 100%. We're at 11 minutes, and I'm gonna mute your mic, and then I will be back until we close on that. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're winding on down to the end, and I'm on the show with Master Musa. Me and him go way, way back, but y'all hold on a minute.
You can call Mrs. Johnson to keep the kid for a day or two. Take the early flight to Florida, just the way you used to do. Have room service, bring your breakfast. Make love all through the day. If you're not back in love by Monday, then you go your separate ways. If you're not back in love by Monday, you can't say you didn't try. But before you bury your love, just make sure you let it die. Leave a few more nights together. Say the things that you used to say. And if you're not back in love by Monday, you just go your separate ways.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back. We are going down to the last few minutes. Brother Master Musa.
Yes.
Where you at? Okay. Now, I feel like if you are a single man, just like me, and all that, that been out there, done did all that, what is it that you want right now from the opposite sex that you're willing to accept?
Well, friendship, whether you're married or not, friendship make a big difference. Because with friendship, you can talk to each other's heart when you're in a situation and there's no friendship. That's what from the research, because I run the African American Economic Recovery think tank, and we're a research company, and the research show we don't know how to get along with each other. That's one of our biggest problems here. We wasting too much time blaming each other instead of getting to know ourselves first before we mate with someone else. But the biggest issue that I see here is leadership, and leadership apply in the home and also in the community.
All right, well, hold it right there. How, let's say, because I done had this happen to me. Let's say there was a woman, oh my goodness, in California, Missouri, Kansas City, Miami, Austin, Texas. If they want to get a hold of you, they may be feeling the same way you do. How can they reach you?
Oh, that's easy. You just use the @ AAERTT. You Google that, all my information will come up. Yes, the @. Well, you don't need the @. You can just put AAERTT. And my phone number, everything.
Is it .com or .net?
No, just Google that. Just use the @ put in the keyword @ AAERTT, and it'll pop up, the African American Economic Recovery Think Tank. And my phone number and everything on there. Email address, all the information is on there. They wanted to reach out to me. That's the simplest way to do it. Yes,
okay.
Just Google that. The @ AAERTT, the African American Economic Recovery Think Tank. Because everything we do it from an economic perspective, from the bottom up. But we have a very serious problem in our community. And we are not making any progress. We are regressing. Because I said before, when I was coming up, most of the women and men was married, or they was co-parenting.
Okay.
And today, it's in bad shape. We in bad shape. And that costs us money too. Yeah, a lot of people don't look at it that way, but it costs us a lot. It costs us not millions of dollars, but billions of dollars.
All right. Well, now, you want to give us a little breakdown on how you see that?
As far as the money part?
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. See, when I was coming up, there was only one car in the family. When the women went to corporate America, everything went up. Everything got expensive. 2 cars, 2 insurance, daycare, food, everything got expensive. Before 1980. So it costs us a lot of money to even fall out with us today. That's a good example right there. It costs us money to fall out.
All right, well, let me ask you this right here. All right, now, suppose you see what you think is Mrs. Right, and you get involved, and then it don't work out. How you see that? What you gonna do about that?
Well, the first thing is to blame yourself. That way you can recover quicker that way. When you blaming someone else, it takes long. It's a long recovery process. But if you blame yourself and see where you made mistakes, and forgive everybody involved in the situation, and move on. because that's all you can really do. And a lot of people fail to do that.
So you do something different.
Well, you have to do something different. You have two choices. Either you're gonna do something different, or it's gonna force you to do something different. Either way, it's the same thing.
How much time you gonna spend on licking your wounds if you have made the mistake of getting Mrs. Wrong right?
Where if there's a Miss Wrong, then you have to look at yourself because you're the one selected Miss Wrong. Well, in most of the time, that's the case here. Time here in these relationships, people don't look at themselves. They blame someone else. And a lot of times, they jump out of one relationship and jump into another. Yes, and that causes a problem. They don't take time to recover. And there's no time limit on the recovery because we are different people. We have different lifestyles in the whole 9 yards. But the main thing here is to learn from your mistakes and be honest about it. That's the fastest way to recover.
Okay. Well, in my personal opinion, I think you gave me some wonderful answers and stuff. But you know what? I know one thing. If you had more time, I think you could live all the way out. And the women sure would be mad with you about telling like it out here. It is. But anyway, I'm going to shut it down, and I appreciate you coming on, my man, and I thank you. And I'm gonna
I'll be on there the next time with you. I will be reaching out to you often. Yes.
Okay.
So we can work together to help our community.
All right, my brother. And you know what? I know that for a fact because I've already seen you on the ground doing it. So,
no, we've been doing it. We've been doing it. We've been doing it.
There we is. All right, well, I'm going to mute your mic, man, and we're going to shut this thing on down.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we going to just close on a song that I just like. It have nothing to do with nothing that we discuss all night long. Nothing to do with none of it. I just happen to like the song. Y'all have a good evening. I'm Tarhaka. I'm on the way. Y'all have a good evening.
Here I go again, y'all. Please tell me I'm dreaming this. Baby, why? Why, baby?
Girl, I really thought I had you in the palm of my hand. So I gave you money. I even gave my love. I turned against all my friends, 'cause I thought they wanted you to. Oh baby, what a fool. What a fool I've been for thinking you were mine all by myself. Double crossing, cheater, liar, user. love you, baby. Then you broke my heart. My friends tried to tell me that you wasn't no good. But oh, like a fool, I thought they wanted you to. But after seeing you for myself, there ain't nothing you can say. Because you made me think I was your only man. Oh, baby, double crosser. You used me, baby, just like I was a tool. Now you got me so upset, I think I'm going out of my mind. Double crosser, two-timer, heartbreaker, backstabber, baby. The money I gave you, baby, give it back to me. You don't deserve it. The diamond rings I put on your finger, give it back to me. You don't deserve it. Double crosser, you got me hurt now. After being so good to you, how could you do this to me? Double crosser, backstabber, baby. You messed up my good name, baby. Double crosser, heartbreaker, baby. You know what you are, baby? Listen. User, liar, cheater, heartbreaker, backstabber, two-timer, double crosser. I found a woman I felt I truly loved. She was everything I'd ever been dreaming of. But she was bad, I didn't know it. Her pretty smile never did show it. All I knew is what I could see, and I knew I wanted her for me. I took her home to Mama. Mama wanted to see my future bride. Oh, she looked at us both, and then she called me to her side. She said, son, take time to know her. It's not an overnight thing. Take time to know her. Please don't rush into this thing. But I didn't listen to Mama. I went straight to the church. I just couldn't wait to have a little girl of mine. When I got off from work, the preacher was there, so was my future bride. He looked at us both and then he called me to his side. He said, son, take time to know her. It's not an overnight thing. You better take time to know her. Please don't rush into this thing. But it looked like everything was gonna turn out all I came home a little early one night, and there she was, kissing on another man. Now I know what Mama meant when she took me by the hand and said, son, take time, girl. It's not an overnight thing. Take time, girl. Please don't rush into this thing. Take time, girl. It's not an overnight thing.
Life Surge is coming to Jacksonville, Saturday, January 18th. Get inspired and equipped to grow your financial resources for Kingdom Impact, featuring leaders in faith and finance. Life Without Limbs' Nick Vujicic, pastor and author Craig Groeschel, president of Proverbs 31 Ministries Lisa Turkhurst, NFL Hall of Famer Tony Bazzelli, entrepreneur author Ed Milet, worship by Bethel Music, and more. Saturday, January 18th, ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena. For tickets, visit lifesurge.com today.